Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 357. Tara Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside zero-time world champion Johnny V.
That's not very nice.
It's very true.
You're right.
Well, thankfully for us, Johnny, any deficiencies we have in world championship titles, we'll be able to make up for them and then some tonight. Well, I don't think we can make up for all of our inefficiencies between the two of us, but at least we'll get a little bit of help. We're going to, in just a few moments, we're going to have now two-time women's world champion Catrina Allen, and after we're done checking in and catching up with her, we're hoping to then have James Conrad, the one-timer.
Oh,
Just
that's what
one-timer.
we start with the two-timer. We work our way down, right?
Yeah, well, we're excited to have her, and I think we're going to get right into it. It's been a wild night already. Welcoming to the show our two-time women's world champion, Catrina Allen. Kat, how does that sound?
Sounds amazing.
What does that
really
mean for you? Like, how do you feel about? I mean, you were already a world champion. Now you have now you get to sign with the little 2X. Have you practiced that? Do you know, like, where is the 2X going to go versus in your new sing? I don't know. How do you do that?
Yeah, I did. I had a lot of practice. I think I signed or tried to sign every single one on Saturday. I think probably I forgot a few times, but yep, put it bottom left under Catrina. Nice and big.
It's been 7 years since you won in Portland at Blue Lake. It was 2014.
Tied with Val Jenkins with the longest between two championships.
Okay, yep. So 7-year span. Does it feel just as good? Does it feel better? Does it feel what are the feelings after the last 7 years?
No, it definitely felt better for sure. I mean, the first one, not that I would take anything away from that, but maybe it was so long ago I don't remember.
That's a good way to refresh the memory.
Yeah, but also we didn't have live coverage. We didn't have as much hype, or social media wasn't as big of a thing, and way better. It felt huge. I mean, the gallery was not only. I know we had a great gallery in Portland, but I felt like just with the finishing hole, I mean, the gallery was electric. They were like feeling it.
Yeah, and I think about in 2014, unfortunately, maybe a little bit for you, it was somewhat overshadowed from the MPO side just because it was such an epic playoff with McBeth and Wysocki. And that's not to take anything away from you claiming the title, but when people think initially of 2014, they're likely thinking of that crazy playoff that took place. This year, you finished up before the men's, and everyone's like, oh my God, what an incredible finish. Things went crazy in the last few holes. It was such a great battle the whole time, the fight, the bitter end. And then yet again, there's, so your final hole is great. And then the men a few hours later blow things up.
Right.
Crazy.
Right. But I think that is the difference. I remember playing still, or like the men started while I was finishing my final 9. So that also makes a huge difference. So even though, yeah, James's shot is one of the most incredible things that we'll ever probably see. It'll be really tough to top that. And I'm thinking, I mean, I've seen some and witnessed some incredible things. But at least I had my own time and space. You know what I mean?
100%.
Which is really too bad. I mean, not for James, clearly. But I remember I was watching the FPO battle unfold, and I mean, we can't show this enough. I remember thinking this shot right here, I'm like, there's no way to top this shot. The emotion, the shot. What were you think? Have you watched this? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I have watched this. I know that people are going to think this is really weird and made up, but I told myself, so the 2 holes, that's probably the most emotion you guys have seen in 11 years after.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
But I don't know. I just felt extremely confident throwing that shot, but I've thrown that shot in the field with that disc. I mean, I've had that disc since I think 2013 or 14. Latricia Shoestrick gave me that disc. And so it's been in there for a long time. And then it was just flying amazing at elevation. It was easier to just throw it up there flat, and it was just always, get that backwards late turn. And I guess going into the week, I just wanted to get to 18 and be in contention. I
And you
just
were.
had, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
I
that
wouldn't
that
say I wasn't like overconfident, like, okay, I'm gonna win, I got this. I just knew once I was within a stroke, I would have a chance if I threw my drive where I wanted.
and now I'm going to go out on a limb here. Is that an F7?
Yes, that is a F7. Yep.
Okay, so I think about the times I've seen you throw that. Obviously, a very unique disc, and I've seen you throw it quite a few times. So it's even ingrained in my memory, and to even see it have any kind of a finish, again, I think speaks to the elevation, because that is a very understable disc, right?
Right. Well, that's like what I was rolling at OTB
Yep.
or anywhere a roller is asked for out there on tour, for sure.
How nervous were you? I mean, we saw the excitement, of course, when it landed and you were inbounds, and the grinning and the fist pump and all of that. Were you nervous about how much it was or wasn't going to flirt with that OB line?
No, I didn't think it would come back that much. Now that I think about it, I know the way the wind was pushing, so that's probably why it came out the way it did. I have to be honest, no, I wasn't nervous. I thought out of my hand it was perfect. Um, I didn't realize how, like I said, how far back it came, but no,
So
I I told myself, get it high, get it flat, and commit, and that's all I know that sounds crazy, because there were probably times during the tournament I was way more nervous. Maybe like some first hole jitters or whatever, but no, I was just so proud of myself to be in that position, because I felt personally during the round there were a lot of shots where I threw it down the fairway and by inches, like it was turning at a tree, but it didn't turn quite soon enough and got an unfortunate kick. But I just kept telling myself, like, just stay in it till the end, stay in it till the end. And then, so I think I was just almost like relieved to be in that position and proud of myself for fighting, through the round.
Yeah, because after you throw that shot, there's nothing more you can do. I mean, you're
No.
hopefully going to hit that 30-footer, and you put all the pressure squarely on Paige, and
Yeah.
and that there's no I don't want to say there's no better place to be, because the better place to be would be up by 12 strokes, but you you did exactly
Ideally.
what you needed to in that situation. It was amazing. I cheered twice pretty loud in the booth. Your shot and James's shot.
So I'd love to
And
go.
the way I mean, if you look back, Utah Open, I was 1 under. And then for Worlds going into that hole, I was 1 under. I had played it 3-4 and I think, 3-4 or 4-3 or something at Utah. And if you go look, she had went 6-4, 6-6. So I just I think maybe in my head, that's what I was thinking the whole week. Just get there, just get to 18. I have that hole dialed. I'm confident. Even if I'm on the left side, I knew where to put that disc and things like that. So
I would like to go back. To me, what really jumps out, of course, I watched your entire round, and I watched almost every shot you guys threw the entire week, but I go back to specifically 16, and the both of you ultimately going out of bounds on 16. Of course, things were very tight, but you guys both go out of bounds, and Paige, for the second time in 2 rounds, hits the putt from the drop zone, and it was hard to think, man, with that momentum, the excitement that she showed, the fist pump, the running off, it felt like all the momentum was in her corner. And she was going to go into the last 2 holes, very difficult with 2 strokes, though. What was going through your mind as she cans that putt and you've got 17 and 18 to go?
And not, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but not a lot. I wasn't thinking. I was just trying to stay in the hole. It's a marathon. It isn't over until that last hole. I just have to try to, but I knew one thing. I think that whether I executed the shot or not, every tee box I had a game plan. I knew right where I was gonna run up, how I was gonna execute the shot, what disc, what angle. And so I wasn't thinking about that necessarily because I told myself in past world championships, if things started not going well, I would kind of get ahead of myself, like, oh, okay, well, now you got to make up strokes, or now, now you have to do this instead of just being in control of the one moment. And I just tell myself to just get up on 17 and stick to your routine and stick to your game plan and just do not give up until that's over, win or lose. Honestly, just do your best to stay in it until the very end because you never know what can happen.
It was an exciting battle.
Yeah, and then we move into 17, and with all of that said, Paige's game probably better than anyone else. You've seen her probably throw more shots than literally anyone else in the world. Were you at all surprised seeing what you both did off the tee of 17 and then having her struggle to not close out 17 with at least a par? Were you at all surprised to see any of her approach shots that were so errant? I mean, I'll admit, my jaw dropped. Were you thinking anything?
No.
No.
I mean, I don't like to do this because I don't like to say anything. I don't want to be like disrespectful at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that thinking to Vegas and thinking to OTB, that once I'm putting on pressure, I know that she seems to have the nerves come on touchy up shots.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I'll say it. I'll say it myself, and we've seen Paige struggle with those medium range shots. She's been using the fierce, but it just hasn't. It does. I don't feel like she's as clean as she has been in the past. And she's hit the tree. She let go early on 18. I mean, there's been more than that as well. She's not been very clean from like 120 to 150, 160 at times. I think she's struggling, to put it mildly. So, I mean, it's
Johnny will say it for you.
yeah. I will not say it for you. I will say it for me. I'm a representative of Smashbox TV, not the PDGA, not Catrina Allen, not Prodigy Discs.
We're gonna get fired.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I was more relieved. Like, okay, well, now I can just lay up. Like,
sure.
It's over. And so, but no, I really had until that F7 shot, I felt like I just had like almost for my game and me personally, the perfect emotion. Not a lot of, maybe here and there a little frustrated with a kick or something like that because whatever, we're playing in the woods. You're gonna get a little frustrated especially when you're off by a little bit. If you're just kind of shanking, you're like, okay, of course I deserve to be here. But, yeah.
Now this might sound like a funny question, but because you're the champ, but where do you rank your play for the week? Just where do you rank your play?
I don't know. I mean, I know that I felt like I played really good at mulligans. And I would have loved to get under par at the fort, but I felt like I just battled and the first 2 rounds had great finishes. And I mean, I try to never get too hard on myself on wooded courses like that. I'm not saying that luck is always involved, but you can have some unfortunate breaks or, like I said, I even think I said it maybe one of the rounds after the fort that I didn't feel like my score reflected how I played. Like I felt like I was,
I know. I think you said that at
playing.
mulligans because of the rollaways at one point. You had to roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a rollaway on 18, and you had a rollaway on another hole that I can't recall off the top of my head. Mm-hmm.
I had actually, and I think I remember that upshot because I adjusted because both of the girls before me threw sidearms and they rolled but stayed. So I made sure to go wider, and it skipped and then rolled from the basket as opposed to on the side of the hill. But I don't know. I mean,
That's a fair
I
answer.
had a lot of, like I think Terry, I talked to you about my jump putt never felt great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has felt incredible the last like 6 weeks. And I have no idea if it was elevation, maybe the air, maybe who knows what, or it just started getting in my head. I don't know. But I thought I was very consistent,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, and again, that wasn't in any, I wasn't
Yeah.
second guessing anything. You went home with the hardware, but I know that you certainly reflect and you think about your game, and you obviously are probably more thoughtful than a lot of players with regards to your game and your own performances, and that's what led me to think it.
But I think,
go ahead.
I think what I took from it though, finally, is to just let go of the pressure of the title and the winning and how amazing that would all be, and just did my best to stay like in the moment, try to enjoy the process, and just, like I said, I think I've put so much pressure in the past, or just like had a bad start and just kind of like never was able to recover or anything like that. But um so my actual physical game, maybe not the best golf I played all year, but I felt like my mental game was by far the best, and my fight, like my fight to stay in it no matter how bad it got out there.
Following that up, I'd love to tap into, I know we had a lot of conversation about the worlds and either criticisms and or accolades about the actual event, but I want to go a step beyond that even. And you've been a person that has been to Utah. You've provided feedback with Jade and Rob and the crew. I would say, a crucial part of developing that scene over there in Utah. What were some of the takeaways and the positives and the interactions with the staff and the crew that ultimately you had?
Yeah, I guess I've been going since it was like a non-sanctioned, like I said, me and Jamie Thomas played in a cart at Mulligan's together. Um, but yeah, I not had a lot of bad interactions with any, I would say, staff or TDs to this day, to my knowledge, because I have always thought if they're not there, I don't have a job. And whether, and for me personally, if I know that the tournaments I've played bad at, I'm worried about what the courses are like, or the format, or this or that, or not being filmed or being things like that. You're probably asking the wrong person, because it was years ago that I was just like, I don't care if we're playing short course, wooded course, like there were some holes at the fort I didn't care for. And Austin and I woke up Monday morning after the Utah Open and just went straight to the fort. And we said, we're going to spend the week learning to love this place, and we're going to find the lines, even though we don't think they exist. And we did. We, had to maybe stand at the basket and turn around and look back at the fairway and find the biggest percentage, the highest gap, or like the biggest gap we could find, or, what was it, hole 12? We're like, if we have to, we're going to throw our upshot into that fence and hope it gets up there. Like, we're just going to, so I have a kind of a different mindset, I think. I also, other than a couple little ladies events I've ran, I haven't ran a lot of events. So I don't think that I should be telling other people how to do it, unless, like I have had a good, relationship with Jeff Jaqua and Nate Heinold because of some feedback, but I always start with the positives, and I always do it to TDs who are putting so much heart into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know I heard stories. I never had a bad experience at the Utah Open or there. Like I said, I've been going there for years, and everyone always welcomes me with hugs and messages me throughout the season if I do well. So, like I said, you might be talking to the wrong person.
I want to. I know we've already hammered on the course stuff, and
I wasn't.
I want to apologize to Kat, or more so your mom, because she was there on 18, and we were looking for different shots as you're walking down the fairway. And I had never seen your mom before. And so there she was sitting there. And I kept thinking, like, I was this close to going to her for a shot because I thought it would be the greatest thing. Like, hey, there's Kat's mom. I was 95% sure, but Mo kind of has a rule. If you're not 100% sure, don't show it.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I'm like, I'm almost, because she is such a big fan and we see her on the boards all the time when you're playing. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh, I think that's Kat's mom. And then when she came up, obviously, and gave you a big hug and congratulated you, that filled in the 5%. How important was it for you to have her there?
It was amazing. I mean, I have played how many worlds, and that's not true. She came for the final 9 one year and surprised me with my best friend and my best friend's mom. So that was pretty incredible. But as far as like having her there the whole week, she actually made the drive in 1 day. She had planned to make it in 2 days. So I did something crazy and took the day off before the tournament, didn't touch a disc, nothing, just spent the day with my mom shopping and having a good time. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, she texts me every morning before my rounds and after every round. So for her to actually be there and experience it, and um, yeah, I would have to say that maybe that's where some of my mental strength came from this week or this last week.
I'll follow that up with, of course, another one of your big supporters. Austin had posted, I believe, shortly before he was about to go off for his round, or he was out there and said, I don't know, how I feel, or I don't know how I follow that up, or what I'm gonna do. I can barely have my own feelings, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're putting all that pressure on the guy. I mean, you win worlds. How is he supposed to go play his final round? I mean, come on. What were some of the conversations you had though?
So he said, he texted like, "What are you up to?" And I was like, "Well, I'm signing autographs or whatever." And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like it was almost like he cares, but he didn't care. And he was in that weird position where he was like so many strokes out of, not to say that he's not capable,
Mm-hmm.
but it would have been taken a phenomenal round to move up where it would be worth it financially, like
Mm-hmm.
to get a big extra chunk, and then there really wasn't room for him to fall very much. And so I think that was maybe a little bit part of it. And I mean, I don't know if a camera got him or not, but someone said he was pretty emotional as I was getting ready to tap in. And so uh, I think he just wanted to come celebrate with me, and it was hard to focus. But that was actually probably one of my favorite parts of the day. I had some friends running off from hole, is it 5 over there or 6? They're like, "We're supposed to be teeing off, but we just got to come over and give you a hug." And then I know like Casey White and his card had the live
Mm-hmm.
coverage on, and people were like, "Do you guys care if I throw?" No, let's watch. Like everyone. So that was, like to hear Austin say, "I just don't even care. I just can't wait for the round to be over and celebrate," and have people coming out of the woods to come over and hug me. And uh, like Blue Ribbon Pines is where my disc golf career started. And Ray and Angie from the
Mm-hmm.
shack sent a video of everyone at the shack taking a shot,
I saw that.
and yeah. And then, yeah, I had a lot of those. So that was incredible.
So what have you done to celebrate? I mean, you've said, I think every interview, it got a little repetitive. You were very much like, I'm focused. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat my meat, and I'm going to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus. I'm going to go to work out. I'm going to eat my meat and come back. What did you do to celebrate? How did you break your routine?
I took a couple days off from running. Still been lifting weights. I had a couple glasses of wine with dinner. I still ate ribeyes and haven't stopped. But
You didn't try a fillet? You didn't go to like a tenderloin? I mean, something different? You're sticking with ribeye?
yeah.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, I had a bone ribeye, and then the next night I had a dry aged ribeye. And then let's see. I mean, I had a few White Claws with my best friend last night and hung out with my nieces, but we're gonna spend the 4th of July up at the lake, and that's probably where I'll I'll probably still work out, but definitely not touching a frisbee all week.
Rightfully
I think
so.
Ricky said it perfectly. He's like, someone's gonna have to drag you out on the courses in Des Moines, like after that week.
Yeah, and I will. I'd love to get to that in just a moment, but
Okay.
earlier you had said that you were talking about Austin and financial differences and so on and so forth. That just leads to me to another question, and we don't need specifics. We're not trying to dig for specifics unless you want to share them. But when it comes to winning a Worlds, first of all, I don't know if we just lost you or not.
Sorry.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay,
I
all
tried
good.
to turn my. There we go.
Okay. When it comes to a Worlds, first of all, this should go on record. You took home a $10,000 paycheck for winning the World Championships. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Your screen froze
your
a little.
screen
You're
froze.
good. You're good.
Yeah.
So you took home a
Okay.
$10,000 paycheck for winning Worlds. Obviously, you're a two-time world champion. Is, for lack of a better phrase, is that a life-changing situation with your sponsor or sponsors in terms of financial, either bonuses or rewards or compensation or anything like that? And again, I'm not digging for numbers that you may or may not want to share, but is that significant financially?
Absolutely. In fact, Monday morning, Prodigy called me right away. We got Glimmer X3s in the works. We're gonna run them the entire day. We're just gonna throw an old whatever throwback stamp you want on there. We want to get them on the site. We're gonna celebrate this. Got a disc coming. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah,
Yep.
you might need to refresh your browser after your thought, but go ahead.
Okay.
There you
All
are.
right, we got you.
No.
So you're
Okay.
saying they're going to run a throwback stamp on one of your discs. Go ahead.
Yep, and they already had that up on. Sorry, I'm in Minnesota. Mosquitoes are getting
Yep.
me. And then they're working on the 2-time stamp, and might have my own molds, like design my own discs. And
Nice.
they just called me ecstatic and like, we're gonna do so much. We're gonna just celebrate this with you. And like I said in my interview, they were sending me videos or pictures, Dan, our CEO, of everyone watching it while they're working at the factory. So yeah.
Awesome. That's as it
Yep.
should be, and that's so great to hear. I think
Yep.
the evolution of our game is trying to get caught up, and I know everybody's been doing work to do so, but it feels like the
Yep.
momentum is gaining quicker and quicker, especially on the FPO side. And to see a $10,000 check for first, I know that was largely the PDGA and Jade jumping in there along with Grip 6, but
Yep.
that's incredible. I love it.
No, it really is. And I was actually on KFan, the Minnesota radio today, and they asked me about, kind of like that. And I would say we might, if you go and look at what other professional, I mean, obviously not maybe tennis or golf, but like say the WNBA or other sports, we get our share of like recognition and live coverage. And um, yeah, I personally feel like I'm taken care of. I mean, sure, I will take more, and I feel like I work hard enough to deserve that. But I do think um, it's been incredible. If I think back from 2014 to now.
Yeah, I think back in 2014, when I'll admit I pulled myself away from the MPO final and I ran over to catch the FPO final. I think I caught up with you guys on your last hole or two, and I may have
Yep.
been only one of two or either one of one video cameras that was there to watch you tap in your final putt at the 2014 Worlds. And to think
No,
about
you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, because I've actually gone back and watched, and like Central Coast didn't know the difference between me and Ragna in the
Okay.
videos.
Okay.
So
I mean,
it has come so far, so far. And I'm not really making fun of them because of whatever. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
I don't think something like that would be happening because I was at the time. I think I led all but one round or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. it was it was incredible to think about where we've come from then to now with all forms of media, not just the live, not just post, but just really everything
Right.
that's out there. And the fact that we at the World Championship saw every shot by the FPO lead card all week long, and then we had a separate stream for every shot of the MPO lead card. And obviously that just, I hope that proves we're all trending in the right directions.
Yeah,
To get
absolutely.
as much
And
out there as we can.
maybe it's because I love to play in the morning and have the rest of my day, but I th- I know that there are reasons that the Disc Golf Network puts us in the afternoon, but I do love that people can come out and spectate us in the morning, and then there's still hours before the lead men cards goes off, and so they can go back to their hotel, they can go have lunch, they can go get a coffee, they can go relax, get some AC, and then come back out and watch some more golf. Because I have noticed, like, DDO, Preserve, a few places where we were allowed to have a decent amount of spectators. I don't think after watching the men's full round, when we're on hole like 7 or 8, that they want to go watch like 2.5 more hours of golf after watching that much golf.
Yeah,
So
and
I did,
and
I did love the format for that. And like I said, I do know there's reasons
mhm.
behind the live doing that, and I can appreciate that. But it was
Yeah.
really nice to have our own time.
And I mean, we've said it a lot of times. We would love, 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 love to be able to have two separate streams, and we're getting there. It's just obviously, it's a manpower issue and things like that for all of our viewers
Yep.
listening.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
once we get there, I mean, as we know, we blew it out for Worlds. We had contractors, and we had a very big crew for Worlds at the DGN this year, and it showed. I mean, I thought the product that we put out was better than probably we've ever done, and it helped that we had a full round for the FPO. We got to watch everything happen, every putt, every drive, every controversy, everything we saw. And it is better than coming in on hole 7 or 8 and trying to catch up with, just maybe we caught 2 of your drives and like 1 or 2 putts that just happened to be good, and the rest of it, not that we ignored, but that just wasn't
Right. Yeah.
yeah
Worth
so
interrupting.
it wasn't worth, not that sounds bad, like worth interrupting the men, like you
I
guys
know,
are not
but I
worth.
understand.
But yeah, so
I know what you're getting at.
we're getting there, I promise, Kat.
So I'll follow up, and we touched on it a moment ago. How taking this weekend off, understandable. Coincidentally, there's a big event going on at BRP over at the Majestic, but taking a weekend off or two, and then how do you? And I know you're so competitive and you're so driven and focused, but how do you come back in a couple weeks? You go to Des Moines, which is going to be an incredible course, site of the World Championships years ago. How do you mentally get geared up? I mean, you're the champ now. Who cares what happens? I mean, like
The
how
rest
do you,
of the season, just write it off.
yeah, I mean, how do you gear up to go play any other events after this?
I think it'll actually maybe take a little pressure off of me and make the rest of the season. I'm not saying, because I don't want to say like easier to win,
Sure.
because like I told Terry before our interview, I should maybe think about quitting disc golf for my health, because I stress 4 days of the week or 3 days of the week so intensely, because I am so competitive and put my heart in there and do want to leave each weekend with playing great or winning. But same old, back to the wake up, get up, go to the gym, stick to my diet. And I think what's helped me over the past, I don't know, I guess maybe since the beginning of the season, is I'm just trying to inspire people to be disciplined and make life-changing, decisions, and whether it's diet or, you know, just making sacrifices, or, trying to better yourself. I think that's one thing I've done really well over the years, is even when I stumble or things don't go as great, I find a way to pick myself back up and come out even better. And so I had a lot of those messages too. I had people saying that, my whole family is inspired by you, and we're making better choices as a family, like whether it's health or fitness or getting out and doing this and being disciplined, or so I just kind of stick to that, I guess. Like I want to keep winning to hear more of those stories. It's really rewarding to hear those stories, and you know, oh, hey, I've been eating a little bit more meat here and there or whatever it is, and I'm feeling great and I'm losing weight, and my golf game, your mental game has helped me so much, or things like that. So that's what's gonna that and like Terry said, I'm super competitive.
Well, I think of adding on to that. I think of your regimens, your routines, and all of those types of things. Has there been, and whether it's steaks or other stuff, has there been any new marketing opportunities? Someone even asked me, like, does she have a
ribeye sponsor?
No, a ribeye sponsor or a hair tie. We see you with various bows and such, and I don't want to get too superficial here, but there's opportunities galore. Anything coming about or anything you're working on?
So Dr. Paul Saladino, who is the reason that I got into the carnivore diet, messaged me and said, "Hey, you want to be part of the tribe?" So he makes supplements for like organs and different things like that at Heart and Soil. And they reached out to me, and I'll receive those. I think they send them, so they should be here, and I'll get to try those. And which I've heard and read amazing stories about. So I'm very excited about that. But other than that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I sometimes tag like Tori Birch. I wear her polos, or I tag Jay Lindbergh, a kind of bougier uh, golf brand I was wearing for the final round, trying to maybe put it out there.
Heck yeah,
it doesn't hurt. I mean,
yeah, you're world champ.
You are the world champ, and arguably the biggest disc golf event that the world has seen. I mean, if you have to pick, I know you want to win them all, but if you could only pick one so far, this is the one. This is the one that got all the views.
Yeah. And maybe that's where the emotion came from. It was just, I could feel the energy and the intenseness, and yeah. So no, we'll see. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Wouldn't be mad if Dior sent me all their new spring stuff, but we'll see.
I'll get on the phone with Christian Dior. We'll be right there.
Down there, right?
I've got connections. Okay, I don't. Well, there's no better time than now, and of course, there's no one more deserving. I mean, you gritted it out, you grinded, you persevered through everything, and then to have all of that pressure and to have everything come down to those final few holes, and then ultimately you perform and executing the shots that you needed to do to force the pressures, to force the play on the other side. I mean, this is what sports is all about. And I can understand how you feel relieved, but yet I know that you're hungry for more. Any bold predictions? I mean, I know you don't normally toot your own horn or anything, but any bold predictions, any wild thoughts out there for the rest of the year?
No, me. I'm just gonna focus on. I find if I just focus on my small things I can do every day to play great, I seem to be more successful than if I think about what other people are doing or winning, or that's all comes if you do all the small things, in my personal opinion. I focus on the gym, my diet, keeping the White Claws for when I come home with my girlfriends, and relaxing, and or maybe a Sunday here and there, keeping my mind clear, and taking those ice cold frickin' showers.
Yeah.
They never get better, do they?
I find success, and then it's made it easier, if I do not win, that I'm on the right path, just keep doing my thing and stay disciplined. And yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of my favorite tournaments coming up, so I'd love to win a lot of them. But like I said, I think if I just keep inspiring people, that'll make the rest of the season worth it.
Well, you've made it very clear, and I've already known this. You don't dwell, you don't make excuses. You go out, you grind, you put your head down, and you go do what needs to get done. And you've said that, but I've also seen you display that, and I think that's so incredibly admirable. You're not one to point fingers or look for excuses, and you either perform or you don't, but that's all self-contained, and I certainly, like I said, I admire that about you. So maybe one of my final questions before you can give all your shout outs here tonight, my final question for you is, as well as you performed, this week and you take home the W and you're two-time world champion. How was your crossword puzzle game on the week? Was that excelling as well? Did you crush that?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I do it at night before I go to bed, to fall asleep because I'm 1,000 years old, I guess.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But there were nights where, man, I was fighting the thoughts of and the nerves for the next day, and I did maybe 3 crosswords before I could get myself to sleep. But I had Lisa and Kristen on my cards. Kristen 3 of the 4, and Lisa 4 of the 5. Sorry, 3 of the 5 and 4 of the 5, and we were kind of just keeping it light, and we were probably all nervous as crap, but trying to keep each other, entertained, or keep the thoughts off the next drive or what just happened, and make the best of the backups or what was going on.
Well, if you don't already have it, the New York Times crossword puzzle app. It's like $40 a year, tons,
Okay.
like thousands of crossword puzzles going back years. That's what I do before. That's what I do before bed every night. So
Yeah, I heard it's really good for your mind, and man, some nights I get like 4 questions in and I'm passed out, and yeah, like I said, some nights I gotta do 3 crosswords if it's tournament night.
Well, it sounds like it's doing its job. So, Kat, we'll let you go here, but first you got to please give any shout outs, how people can support you, ways
Okay.
that, they can fully engage and or follow. So give us socials and give any shout outs and praise you need to give or spread the love around.
Okay. So I would like to give some shout outs to some people that I don't actually personally know,
Mhm.
but have been extremely inspiring to me. And that would be David Goggins has been a huge inspiration to me. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of him. And I found him through Joe Rogan, where I also found Dr. Paul Saladino,
Mhm.
who has my diet has probably it's probably been the biggest thing that's changed my life lately is cutting out all of the bad things that were in my diet that I think were causing some of the issues I was going through. And then, of course, Austin, who's with me 24/7 and probably thinks some days, man, I would really just like to eat some McDonald's and not be feeling like I need to go to the gym at 6 a.m. um, and then, um, of course, my mom, like you guys said, you see her active. She'll apologize for not being able to watch around or something like that, like she does. So that's amazing. And then Prodigy, they have just been with me through the years, and Michael Sullivan from Prodigy is probably just as big a fan as my mom, watches every round. His wife Esther says some days I just wish he'd be quiet because he just knows what disc you're going to throw and all these things. So I definitely want to give him a shout out. And we've had, as an amazing player, he's given me so much advice and talked me through tough times on tour, and um, again messages me after all my rounds. And then um, my best friends back home, after weeks I come home and it's like I never left. I get to you know catch up right where I was when I left. And then Ricky Wysocki is probably is my best friend on tour for sure. He's one of my biggest supporters, and we're definitely doing everything we can to push the integrity of the sport and inspire people to be athletes and make sacrifices and get any edge you can by diet or exercise or Wim Hof crazy ice baths and showers. And um, yeah, like I said, and then Lisa and Kristen I played with, and we're just that kind of quiet inspiration all week. I remember one round Lisa being ecstatic about a shot I threw on 18, and that feels good. Steph Vincent, Sarah Holcomb, who else? God, Maria Oliva. Man, I'm trying to think. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I think I think that says it all. I can't even begin to think of all the people that I should thank. Casey White, Alyssa Pearson. I don't know. I think I was trying to write my post for days, and it just came down that I told Austin in the car going back after the day was over that my the thing I will remember the most, and it's gonna make me cry, sorry, is the overwhelmingness from people, like other people crying that I won, or other people who've been there through the journey with me and know how much I've overcame and what I've, how much hard work I have. I think that's, yes, I'll always remember the title, but having those people who've been there for me and are just as excited, that was the best of the day. So anyone who shared, their tears, or I just want to thank all of them, and I just feel really lucky to have all those people.
Well,
Sorry.
it's been no, it's all perfect, and it's been an incredible journey, Kat. I think I've seen you from very early on, since some of your first ever tournaments, and
Yeah.
to watch you go through this journey, and
I remember
the ups, the downs.
I remember the exact first time I saw Kat. It was at the memorial when we volunteered for Disc Golf Planet. I saw you. You were on at Fountain, and I remember going like, "Who's this?" Like you were playing so well, and I think it was like 2011 or something. And I was like, "Who's this girl?"
Because no, and I don't know if that was you, but someone was like, "Oh, this is Paul Ulibarry's girlfriend." And I was like, "Oh, nope. You guys won't be saying that for long. Don't you dare."
I hope that wasn't me, but I'm not saying it wasn't, but I hope it wasn't. But I specifically remember I was sitting in the tent and you were on our screen. We were showing you, and I was like, "Who's this?" And jeez.
Well, she is now your two-time women's champion. Catrina, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your memories, your moments, your heart, your dedication, your soul, everything that you've put into it. Thank you for joining us tonight. We've got this incredible tradition of having world champions join us right after they've taken down the title, and to have James, and all these moments and memories that are so fresh in our minds that now will live on forever. I'll remember your shot. I'll remember you tapping in just as I did in 2014, and we're so glad. We're so proud of you, and congratulations yet again. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys so much. It means a lot.
Of course.
Thanks,
all right,
Kat.
Two-time world champ Catrina Allen signing off. We'll see you in Des Moines. And
I can't show this enough. I'm sorry.
All right, we're going to take another look. Johnny V's showing everybody the shot. We're not saying it's better than
we're gonna go
James. It's she didn't find the bottom of the basket like James did, but still as impactful, which I think is the key takeaway in terms of that high pressure
Look at
situation.
that celebration. You don't get to see that from Kat very often.
Well, she knew what it meant, and it was incredible. And with that, I'm going to send, I got to find a quick link over here that I'm going to be sending in just a moment to James Conrad. I appreciate James' patience here. Originally, when I reached out to Kat, she said, "I'd love to join, but I'm going to probably keep it kind of short." And, well, Smashbox says otherwise.
Short.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
She was on for less. She was like 45 minutes.
That's true.
Maybe 40.
So she set a record. Okay. I'm going to reach out to James and see if we can get him on any second. He said he was sitting here watching along with Kat.
Oh, that's great.
So awesome to see.
Good, because I'm going to yell at him for taking all of Kat's glory on that corner, that turnover shot.
Kat's corner became
James's corner.
James's. Well, they can share it, and that's what I think is something that's beautiful about it, is they'll forever be able to share that very special spot and moment. One of the things that I saw posted in the last few days was that there should be some form of a 4-inch or some kind of marker placed out there in that spot on hole 18, where then, it's just denotes of, hey, this is where James made from. They could obviously go out there and basically recreate that spot, find it, approximate it, and have something inscribed there about this is where James made from, to essentially push the world's playoff. And I think that sounds very appropriate to do because of the incredible nature of it.
I want to know, maybe he can answer that question.
All right. And with that, we go from a 2-time women's world champion to our newest MPO world champion, James Conrad.
Hey, Terry.
Wow.
How you guys doing?
We are good. We are so good. Congrats. I mean, I here we sit here just gushing and smiling, but congrats. How are you feeling, buddy?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling great. I'm glad to be off the road. I hung out in Utah all day Sunday, but we hit the road early Monday, and it was about 20 hours. we made it out near Minneapolis, near where Kat actually is right now too. My girlfriend Jordan has a bunch of her family that lives up here, so we booked it out here to with her birthday coming up and me just winning seemed like a appropriate place to spend some time and celebrate.
Did you get a hotel room? I know you guys are famous for the article you wrote last year or for Alta World about the staying in the van and staying, like how little costs you try to spend. Did you splurge?
Well, we were in a pretty nice Airbnb. Pretty much the whole time we were in Eden. But on the drive, even when we're at an Airbnb or something, we kind of prefer to stay in the van. You know, it's our own bed. It's comfortable, and so no hotels or anything. But the Airbnb was awesome for Utah, especially in the heat of the day and even in the mornings, getting hot. Just having a nice place to relax and spread out a little was great.
Well, so I'll jump ahead of kind of a question we were just talking to about Kat about how do you follow it up? What do you do? She's taking off this weekend. There was understandably a little disappointment when some people heard that you may not be, or you have withdrawn from playing at the Clash at the Canyons this weekend, down in Illinois, suburb of Chicago essentially, and obviously you just mentioned you're in Minnesota. Are you playing the Majestic? Or are you taking the whole weekend off? How do you recover?
I don't think I'm going to play a lot of disc golf this week, but I do believe I'm going to play in the Majestic. I love playing at Blue Ribbon Pines. It's an awesome place, and I think just the opportunity to go out and interact with a lot of my friends that live up here that I haven't seen in a long time will be worth it. And I won't really have any expectations at BRP. My game feels great, so I expect to play well, but I'm not gonna be sweating it too much.
How do you, I mean, BRP, amazing place, Ray and crew and Kale hosting, and just this incredible atmosphere, 27 holes, 2 rounds. But how do you show up and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to play again? Like you just won the world, man.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't had to deal with this too much. My previous biggest win, US, was right near the end of the season. I remember still going to the Hall of Fame Classic the next weekend, and I feel like I put on a pretty good game there. But I feel like one of my strengths on the course is just not being able to think about too much besides where I'm at and the shot I'm on. So I think it'll be interesting going out there, with the world title to maybe a little extra pressure or something. But I think I'm just going to go out there and try to have fun and throw some good shots, and yeah, just enjoy the golf and the throwing.
So speaking of throwing some good shots, you are now dubbed with what almost everyone is saying is not only one of the greatest shots in disc golf, but one of the most clutch moments in any sport. How in the world do you accept such an amazing title? How do you process people talking about that as one of the greatest sports moments ever?
It's not easy. I definitely still haven't fully processed it. It's a super special feeling though to receive that much praise and that much recognition is really, really cool. And it's a bit odd. Like I've already had a few tastes of it. I haven't interacted with a ton of people, but we just got to Jordan's stepdad's house, and there's like a little guest parking area, and so we've stayed here before last year, and we got out of the van, and a family that lives right there by the parking spot. As soon as they saw us pull up, they like came out and were like, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you, great shot! Like we saw that on TV, and we remembered you staying here last year, and we just wanted to say that was so cool." And so to like immediately get that as soon as I parked, I feel like I'll see quite a bit more of that in the coming months. And at times for me, it'll be maybe overwhelming, but it's overall positive.
I think you present an a very humble person, but I want to know, just like I asked Kat, how many times have you watched the shot? There are people that are saying they've watched it 50, 100 times. How many times have you sat and watched it like, wow, that was awesome. Look what I did, guys.
I haven't kept count, but it's definitely more than a couple. I've seen it quite a few times. I've been probably tagged, hundreds or if not thousands of times, and it's kind of if I see it pop up, it's kind of hard not to watch it and just start smiling again.
It's got to be a crazy much. So I don't know if I asked Terry this, but I was talking to a couple of people. How much do you want for the Envy? Like $60? I mean, it's a $14 disc, right?
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, that disc now is probably worth 5 digits. I mean, at least. And are you going to keep throwing it? What do you plan on doing with it? Where can I find it?
I haven't fully decided yet. I think there's definitely an argument towards like saving it as it is and preserving it, if you will, or displaying it somewhere. But I'm also pretty interested in just continuing to throw it. Like I've done some pretty cool things with Greenie back in the day, and I think I'd already done that with that disc. Like who knows what else I might do with it still, and even build on that legend or add to it.
I can't even imagine. Like, obviously, you do what you're doing. I can't imagine that. I just think of like, well, what if he throws it into a water somewhere? What if it's? I mean, I know you don't. I mean, I can't say you don't care, but it holds. Like, some people were saying, put it into the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. People were saying, like, I'm not kidding. Like, this is
right.
It's an iconic piece of our disc golf history now. Like, literally, and I commend you with whatever you decide to do with it. But wow. Keep throwing it. That didn't even cross my mind.
That's my first inclination, but I don't know if I will or not. Because I understand what you're saying. Like it's pretty special disc at this point.
You just wait when somebody's like, "Hey, I'll offer you a new RV or a house or a cabin in the woods, on your retirement property for that disc." I maybe not. No, you're like you said, the commitment to it.
I talked a little bit to MVP Steve, and we were briefly going over them. I was like, how did you feel about it? What were your feelings? And he kind of told me his reactions, and then he turns around. He's like, I turned around to our guys and I yelled, "Turn on the Envy machine and just keep it running, man." So I think you are. I think you're going to be doing just fine.
So we kind of asked Kat that question about, again, not just financials, but with the structure of MVP, have you guys had conversations yet about, another disc or other ways to either commemorate it or a separate disc that's an addition for like a signature disc? Like, what are some of the conversations and what can people, start getting more excited about from the MVP family?
Yeah, we've had a chance to talk a bit, and they're very excited, obviously, and they're they're already working on producing as many as they can. Like the Nomad was already kind of in works. That's the putter I've been using, and
that's the one with the That's the one with the prototype stamp, right?
Correct.
You had a hand in developing that, if I remember right.
Correct. Yeah. So that's going to be part of like a James Conrad line of disc that they're doing. That's going to be the first one, and that was already in the works. But then with this win, in addition to that, I believe it'll be Envies. The Electron Envies will be a signature series, and they're gonna. I believe they already have started working on those, and I think within a couple of weeks they may start taking pre-orders. It may be 6 weeks or so before they're actually out and about, but they're definitely on top of it and stoked to celebrate this with me.
I guess I'll dig a little deeper on that. Of course, you changing from Innova over to MVP, and MVP, one of the fair or not criticisms that people have always said is, yeah, they make great discs, but we haven't seen a lot of big wins out of them, even though they now have Elaine King and Matt Dollar and Sarah Holcomb. So I recognize all of that, but sometimes people don't think fully. So there has to be just an even greater buzz. I mean, you were such an add to the team as it was, an addition to the team, but now MVP is just 1,000,000 times more on the map globally. I mean, is that any pressure on you at all?
I hadn't felt like this week added any pressure in that sense. I would say I felt a bit of that pressure at the start of the season. They were making a pretty big investment and pretty big commitment into sponsoring me, into backing me, and I was hoping to be able to live up to that. And the fact that I was able to, in the first year, win the world championships, I think far exceeded the best that they could hope for. So not really feeling too much pressure in that sense, but definitely want to keep representing the brand well and have a great relationship with them.
Yeah, it's I just, when you like draw up a storyline, the fact that
small company picks up player, that player goes on to win world championship.
Yeah, I mean,
with the greatest throw in disc golf history.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's okay. Wow. So I'll admit the joke I had made to Steve Rico and a few others a day or two before Worlds, I said, is there any other hole at the fort besides hole frickin' 16? Because all you saw on social media, I literally was flying there and I was screenshotting everybody who was just posting about hole 16. I mean, it's this beautiful hole, but I swear to God, at one point you would have thought, oh, there's no other hole on the course. It's just hole 16, because that's all anyone ever posted about. I've got a whole stack of screenshots. And then you get to hole 16. I got there for the doubles, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is amazing.
I get it, yeah.
But holy cow, how do you get hole 16 so dialed and have such success on that hole? What was your game plan going into it this week? And that might sound dumb because you obviously executed, but what was your game plan, with that hole? And how did you feel about it before you'd ever competitively thrown it?
It's kind of funny. I'm not sure how many times, but I got in quite a few rounds at the fort. I played the Utah Open, so that was 2 competitive rounds. I had a couple practice rounds before that, and then another handful in between. And the first, I'd say at least 5 or maybe even closer to 10 times I stepped up to that tee pad, I was not throwing the line that I ended up throwing. I was just trying to throw a controlled floaty shot kind of directly at the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed that shot. It's a really fun one to throw. You just kind of point and shoot, and whoa, that's cool to watch.
Your ace, yep.
Yeah. We're prepared here at Smashbox. Don't let anyone fool you or tell you otherwise.
we play like we're prepared. Okay, so go on. So you had a changing game plan essentially at one point.
I did. Yeah, like I said, I played quite a few rounds and quite a few shots in all those practice rounds, throwing straight at it. And I'd say I was probably throwing 60 to 70% inbounds, and it was a little wind dependent. Like if the wind was from the right, I just really like to carry that straight shot a little long or a little left, and sometimes there would be ace runs, but then they wouldn't catch the ground. And probably the weekend before World started, that Saturday or Sunday, I spent a little extra time up on that hole, and I was like, this just isn't quite the highest percentage. It's a really important shot. It's a two-stroke swing every time. If you make it or you miss it, it's 2 strokes.
Not for Paige Pierce. I'm just saying.
Not for Paige, but she's good at that drop zone. That was amazing.
Yes, she is.
She nailed those.
But yeah, standing down on the green, I was looking at that tree that I was throwing over in the tournament, and from the tee pad, it looks kind of right in the way, but it's actually quite a bit short of the green, and you're teeing from so high anyway that it's not too hard to get a disc to go above it. And got in quite a few throws with that entropy. I was also trying with a pyro, a few other overstable putters, like my overstable envy. I even tried it with a fireball, like a fairway driver, but it just seemed like that entropy just really was the right disc for the hole. That high stall hyzer, I could just hit it really hard and flat over the tree. It would just kind of stall out and be coming right to left into the green, like no forward and no chance of going into the water. Pretty much the only way I think I could have messed it up was just throwing it too low and hitting the tree.
Yeah, and clearly you had that hole dialed. That's the hole you went to win the playoff against Paul, where you again parked the shot. I mean, did that give you extra confidence knowing that you had such good experience and clearly a lot of practice at that hole when you walk up? I mean, there's got to be a lot of nerves. You're in a playoff for the World Championships against arguably the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, there were definitely nerves, but I think the fact that it was on that hole that I had such success was helpful. It made it a little easier to calm the nerves and just focus on the shot. It was a shot that, like you said, I had great success with. I'd even aced on the hole, and for a second, it crossed my mind about how just absolutely insane it would have been to ace again in the playoff right after the throw-in. I was like, people would think I'm cheating, like cheat code activated or
You
something,
greedy SOB. How does he do it?
I've joked before that if I could have a superpower, it'd be perfect aim, but I think it wouldn't make competing in disc golf too fun because wouldn't be fun, But for a second, I felt like that I acquired that there on 18. It's pretty amazing.
So I know this is kind of a silly woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Were you at all nervous? Let's just play pretend. Paul puts it on the green. He gets hole 16. You guys push there, which I think a lot of people maybe would have assumed. I think most people would have bet on a push on 16, at least the first time. Were you at all nervous or excited about playing either 17 or 18 had it continued? Did you not even think about those holes, or were those in the back of your head?
I think out of the 3 holes, I was most excited for 16, and then 17, and probably least so for 18. So I wasn't trying to think about it too much, though. I was just trying to go one shot at a time. I really enjoy hole 17. I feel like the tee shot is just a little bit of a poke and hope. It's hard to really. There's not like one gap that it's like this is what you're going for. It's kind of like just try not to hit any of those trees that are on the other bank, and then you might have a chance to get up and down. But apart from one time kicking into the water off one of those trees on the bank, I was able to get birdie on hole 17 most of the times I played it. So I was pretty excited about 16, about my chances there, and about on 17. But 18 is a difficult birdie, so I was kind of hoping not to have to play that one again.
It's almost like you need a miracle to birdie it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, going into 18, you drive. I have this, so I'm going to play it while I talk about it.
I hope you get to the question I have. Go ahead.
You throw the drive, and you hit one of the trees on the banks. And I'm just gonna speed this up here a little bit. Here we go. And you end up about 5 feet, I don't say short, so to speak, but 5 feet off of the water. At this point, you already know McBeth is down the fairway. What do you think your odds are at that point? Or did you think about that? We know Kat went into that saying that, like, oh, here, darn it, I wanted to show that part because it might be one of the most frustrated I've ever seen you. Like, look at this. You walk off this hole, and you shake your head, and you like get, I've never seen that out of you, James. Like, did you think you just gave up worlds at that point?
I knew that shot hurt my chances significantly. I knew it wasn't over. I just that morning I had watched the live coverage. I wanted to go in person, but I was kind of trying to avoid as many crowds as I could before the round. So I was watching the live coverage of the women's. Excuse me. So if the women's final hole didn't show that, kind of anything could happen there on 18, then nothing would. So I wasn't hopeless, but I was definitely frustrated. And part of that, I think one of those things I muttered after my tee shot hit the tree was voicing some frustration that such an odd tee pad might have been what cost me worlds. Like, I have a very challenging time off some of those elevated tee pads where they kind of force you to come into the tee pad from a certain direction, and you have to be a little bit worried about following through because it's a drop off after. And so I was, vented a little frustration that a weird tee pad could have cost me, my chance at worlds. But at the same time, I tried to just push any negative thoughts like that out of the head and get over there to my lie and see what my options were.
And your option was to lay up because there's no getting on that green short of like some crazy power backhand roller. Like that's all I kept thinking is like if he wants to get on this green, he'd have to throw a roller. I'm like, that's not really a James move. Like there's just no way to get from that spot to there, especially with almost, you know, you know as well as anybody, you have a famous run up. You had none,
Right.
0 there, and I didn't know.
So was the chess match play for you at that point, thinking, hey, I'm going to pitch up, I'm going to try and take the 4, and then discreetly just see how it plays out and hope that maybe a mistake is made? Is that was must have been your thinking at that point?
I didn't think 4 was going to do anything for me. I thought that if I wanted a chance, I had to 3 it, and like you said, I didn't have a run up, so I discounted trying anything dumb. Trying a roller. I think with good footing from where I was, a roller to circle 1 would have been possible. Might not have been high percentage. It might have been a higher percentage than throwing 1 in from 250 though, so would have been a little harder of a choice. But yeah, I'd say when I got to my lie and saw that I was pretty much stuck with a standstill second shot, that I was just going to put it in play, and then Paul would be next to shoot, so he could go for the green and possibly go OB, or he could lay up, and even a layup is possible to choke. I can't say that I expected that at all, and just wanted to give myself a chance at 3, and the only way to do that was to have my second shot inbounds.
So I'm hoping, well, here, I'll just put it on the line. Can we put it to bed that Paul McBeth played the hole incorrectly in any way, shape, or form? Like, is there any way on the planet he should have played the hole at all differently, in your opinion?
No,
Thank you.
I'm not in his head, obviously. So I don't know what his thoughts were or why he did that. But from my perspective, and just from a golf perspective in general, I think he made the right decision. He was absolutely not going to lose doing what he did. Worst case scenario was a tie, and that ended up being the worst case scenario. But even a tie, I feel like if you're Paul McBeth, you like your chances in a playoff.
Yeah, Paul actually addressed this last night. He said that, but James's first 2 shots basically took the decision out of his hands, because where James was on his going for 3, there was the smart golf move was to lay up. Had James gotten closer, Paul said he would have gone for it. Had James's drive gotten closer, Paul would have gone for it. But you don't expect somebody to hit a 250-foot shot from around the corner at an elevated altitude, which it's harder to turn discs over. Like it is a more difficult. You heard players talk about their discs coming out of those turnovers more. So all of those things, Paul said, went through his mind, and the smartest move he said he made, it just didn't work out for that guy.
I appreciate what you're saying, James, and I'll maybe save it for an after show rant. I personally feel like you're not bright and you don't know anything about golf if you think Paul should have played it differently. That's I'm going to be very blunt about it. With where you were and the chess match that was unfolding, with you throwing first, him just needing the 4 to win, which 999,000 times out of a million or whatever is going to do it. And you had, again, the most miraculous shot and skillful shot that combined. Paul and every other player should have played it exactly as he did every single time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you hit the royal flush on the on the river. I mean, for F's sake.
This isn't Ricky. We don't do card. We have to come up with a Catan reference, which I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know. What would be the Catan reference?
Yeah, give us the Catan equivalent of the most insane move or result ever. What would that be, James?
Oh, maybe drawing a dev card for the win. That's not even that crazy, though. Or rolling a 2 to draw the ore that you need, or something. There's not. I'm not.
Nothing's
there's
as
not a
crazy as
great
what you
analogy
did.
there.
So how it had again, part of asking dumb questions here. How did it feel when you tapped in and people are chanting Conrad, Conrad? Like, I've never seen that at a disc golf event. Someone chanting someone's name like that. I mean, that had to feel phenomenal.
It did. It was, yeah, it was crazy. Unreal feeling, like to feel that much love and support and appreciation from that many people at the same time. Like, I think tastes of that are kind of what got me addicted to competing at disc golf. At striving to be the best is that feeling. And I've had tastes of it, but that was definitely the largest spoonful at once, if you will. And it was really special. It was a little weird to on. Are you speaking about on 18 or after the playoff?
Both.
Both. Yeah. On 18, it was like thank you, but now we're just tied. Like it was far from over, and I didn't want to celebrate too early. Like, obviously I celebrated the shot, but I knew that the tournament was far from over. Like, who knows how many more holes it could have been. But yeah, it was a very special feeling.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
As we know, there's so few people that have managed to either to hang with McBeth at the World Championships and or get past him. He has finished first or second every year since 2012.
Ain't bad.
I mean, clearly that's ridiculous.
That's
at
amazing.
the World Championships. Was there at any point for you, because clearly it was such an incredible battle down the stretch, he was hitting these great shots, you were hitting these great shots, but was there at any point where you felt like, okay, this now feels like just the two-man race that it is? When did that sink in for you, if at all? Because Sexton was doing well, everything else was going on. When did you feel like, okay, I got my eyes on Paul's back?
I'd say the whole back nine. I wasn't watching the chase card scores too closely, but the start of the back nine, me, Kevin, and Paul, all three felt like it was, if any one of us just really turned on the gas, it could have been ours. And then me and Kevin held pace really well through 15. 15 was a big moment. Kevin was farthest out. I was a little closer than him, and Paul was quite close to the basket. And yeah, Kevin hit a big jump putt, his classic straddle jump putt from probably about 50 feet. And that got me hyped. It got everyone around us hyped. It definitely got Kevin hyped. And I was able to take that energy and make my 45-foot putt or so to keep pace. I was one, and Kev was one behind me, and I was one behind Paul. And then Kev just felt like got some tough luck on 16 and kind of took him out of contention. At that point, it just felt like it was going to be me or Paul.
Another thing I think about your shot and the performance and what you were able to achieve, I think almost rivaling the holy shot, you got a reaction out of Calvin Heimberg, and it's forever been memed.
I was going to ask, what was your favorite reaction if it was Calvin's?
Yeah, how does that feel?
That one makes me laugh every time I've come across it since. I consider Calvin to be a good friend of mine, and quite a few years ago, we even toured together for about a month or something. So I feel like we know each other really well, and yeah, just to see him from stoic, straight face to just yeah, so funny. I kind of wish I could have heard the sound that came out to match that expression,
Yeah, and just an incredible amount of cameras. Of course, Disc Golf Network being there, and I think we had 6 cameras total, including the one way high up kind of by 16. I think it was called the Crow's Nest. Thanks to Evan and Sam and the boys for finding that earlier in the week. And then that's the one that kind of captured you running in, and just the mayhem, the madness of you running that down. What is that? What does that do? Does that do anything for our sport in your eyes in terms of seeing the crowd, the gallery, the reactions? What does that do?
I think it definitely validates, and it makes people that have watched it at home or seen it on Sports Center or seen seen it wherever they've seen it, be like, wow, people actually are like out there watching. There's a ton of them and they're loving it. Like, that, I feel like there's a term for that, but it's like if you see a street performer and he's got 10 people watching what he's doing, then all of a sudden he might have 50 or 100 because people.
Oh, it looks like
might have lost him for a second. I don't know if he...
Maybe I should go watch.
Okay, no. Oh, sorry. So you were just saying when there's a street performer and there's 10 people watching, that crowd can build to 50 and it feels like you should go watch it and be part of it. You cut out for a second. That's
Correct.
What you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
I think it's the same thing happens in disc golf. I think people see that video clip and see 1,000 plus people watching me and just losing their minds basically for a moment. And they're like, wow, that looks like fun. Like maybe I should go watch one of these things.
Has there been, clearly we've seen everything from the John Boy Productions to a number of outlets, Sports Center Top 10, things that the things that I saw today or whatever, Scott Van Pelt.
Oh, the Scott Van Pelt, the best thing I saw today.
Best thing I saw today. All these segments and these outlets, have you talked to any other major organizations besides Smashbox? Have you talked to anyone else? No, have you talked to any other major outlets in the last few days?
Not yet. I think I've had a couple of emails that people, like a local news from back in Virginia is hoping to get an interview with me here soon, and I plan to do that. But I haven't been in contact with any like major television networks or anything like that yet.
I feel like, just as we've seen almost exactly 5 years ago, the shot that Philo had, the Albatross, and what, how that exploded. And, we all know what that did for Philo and for the sport. But then as people are saying, your shot carried a totally different weight, an additional weight because of the worlds, because of the overall situation. And I think we're going to see a lot more that continues to come from it. And like we were all saying, that highlight's never going to get old. I mean, people are going to say 5 or 10 or 40 years from now, I remember where I was when James Conrad, forced the playoff on that 18th hole. It's incredible.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm feel lucky to have been right in the middle of it.
I mean,
do you like that? I mean, you're honestly, you're kind of, you were saying in one of your interviews that you were feeling claustrophobic early on, and you avoided going out because of the crowds. You seem like a relatively private person. You're not necessarily the guy that's out there glad handing. Like we saw Ricky after his round, and he didn't even win, and he's signing discs and throwing them out to people and like high fiving. That doesn't seem like your style. Do you like all this attention?
I do. I think I don't like it maybe 24 hours of the day, and I feel like I should be, hopefully we'll still be able to have some privacy when I want it and have time to myself. But I think that, it's just a cool feeling to be recognized for what I'm doing and to be appreciated for what I'm doing, and to have the opportunity to get more people more excited about disc golf is pretty huge to me, and I'm happy to be where I am.
What does it mean for you to carry the world title with you for the next year? I mean, obviously it's yours forever, but you're also our number one ambassador. You're the reigning world champion. What does that title mean to you, and any obligations that may or may not come along with that?
I would say I definitely feel a bit of responsibility, but it's also, yeah, I guess I don't fully understand what obligations it may bring with, but as far as responsibility, it makes me want to be the best ambassador that I can. If I just want to make the sport look good and make myself look good and make my company MVP look good. Those things are important to me, and I think it's cool that, let's see, I guess it's cool that maybe I don't look like a typical athlete, like with the long hair and the beard. I kind of look more like a frisbee or like a frisbee person, but that I can have that look and then still be a true professional athlete and be a good face even without fitting to maybe the stereotype of what like a world champion looks like or anything like that. I think it's a cool opportunity to maybe break down some of some of those stereotypes, if you will. Like,
Yeah, I can fully embrace that. I mean, we're seeing younger, very athletic people get into it, and that's not to say that you're old or unathletic, of course. But like you said, you see some of these stereotypes when we see our new crop of players. Your Kyle Kleins that are coming
Anthony
into the
Barella.
game, your Barellas and those types,
Gavin.
you know. And now, clearly, like you said, you have a little more of that freestyle-ish type spirit and look to you, but you're clearly more talented than all of them at the moment. So, yeah, I think that is great. And I think that so many people have said it. Your demeanor, your tone, Philo said it on the broadcast, your spirit about you is infectious. It's always a pleasure to be around you. You're always having a good time. You're always even keeled and tempered and yet fun and exciting. Like it's been incredible to see your journey these last few years.
I asked Kat
Thank you so much.
I asked Kat the same question. Is it or how difficult was it for you to figure out where to put 1X in your signature? Because I mean, you've been signing discs for 5, 7, 10 years. Suddenly, you have to change that. I mean, it sounds silly, but you're going to be signing thousands of discs now. Like every person that sees you is going to want a disc signed, and now you have to add this little 1X thing to it. Is it difficult to figure out where to put that? Have you changed your mind? You're like, no, I don't like it there. I need to put it down here because it's not anything you practiced beforehand. I don't. Maybe you did. I don't know.
It wasn't anything I had practiced. I put a bit of thought into it the other day. That first evening, right after winning the championship, though, I just kind of started slapping it right in between like the J and the C. Kind of have a little gap up there, and looked like it fit all right. Haven't changed it yet, but we'll see.
Okay.
Isn't it funny, but yet it's so exciting to think about the new problems you have?
It is, yeah.
I think we asked Kat the same. And have there been any additional sponsorships or companies or brands that have reached out or dare I say, is this is a great opportunity for you now as world champ, even more so, to reach out to tag an extra company or two? Is there any partnerships or collaborations that are in the works or that have been solidified?
No, nothing yet. Hasn't been a lot of time for those kind of discussions yet. But like, I just finished the tournament and then was in the car for 2 days. But it's exciting that there could be more opportunities. You know, I think that there's definitely a lot of room for endorsements to expand from just our disc manufacturers. And yeah, I've been considering reaching out to Oboe's Footwear. That's the shoes I was wearing. I switched to those in maybe April this year or so. Was just kind of trying out some different shoes and really enjoyed those. And so, you know, the fact that I won a world championships in their shoes could be something that they like to know about and could lead to something. But like I said, no formal talks or anything like that yet.
Just tell them to Google your name. I mean, they're gonna see a clip like who's this James? Oh my, like okay, sure. Like, I mean, to me, and obviously we're all in the same community here, it's a no-brainer when you look at the type of social media outreach that you have, and clearly they don't know the type of person you are. We all do, but you know, a little bit of background check, and they're going to see that, you know, it makes sense, man. Come on.
So I guess I'll follow that up and just ask, in addition to them, maybe, what are your needs? What would be kind of an ideal sponsorship? And you can either be generic or drop some names because we'd love to hear them. But what are some of your needs when you're thinking, hey, it would be great to have, this company, whether it's, related to food or your travel or your accommodations or gas or whatever. What are some of the things that you're like, hey, yeah, I could use that sort of sponsor?
I don't have a lot. I wouldn't say. I feel like my needs are pretty minimal. I'm maybe like an airline sponsor would be sweet. I mean, I usually drive the van places, but just being able to fly around to other places and stuff would be fun. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of needs. Like I'd say groceries are one of my bigger expenses, but it's something I'm happy to spend my money on. And then um, yeah, I think a clothing or shoe sponsorship makes a lot of sense because it's something that we already wear when we're out there competing. It's something that we're very visible in, and makes sense. In our minds, it seems like it would be profitable for some bigger companies to start endorsing disc golf, and it would obviously be good for us as players to get some big dollar sponsorships from some of the big companies in the shoes or athletic departments. But yeah, I don't paychecks, but
You cut out, but I think you were just saying, yeah, you feel like you have athletic sponsorships, shoes and clothing would be. I'd like to just quickly sideline to the we saw you break out earlier this year, or was it last year already? Our years are blending. Some James Conrad apparel and such. People are finding that on your website, and then I've got to assume there's going to be some world champ, James Conrad apparel in the works.
yeah, website is jamesconraddiscgolf.com, and we've had a ton of orders rolling in since I won the other day, and we still have a bit of stock left, but definitely trying to get on top of getting some new merchandise made to commemorate the Worlds. It's been working out well. I have a really good friend of mine in Maryland who's been kind of doing the fulfillment for me. So he keeps a lot of my inventory and is actually shipping them out. And it's a good little partnership because there's not a lot of room in the van or a lot of time to be going to the post office all the time.
I also think back, if we rewind just a few months, you're one of the few players that we've ever seen. I can only think of maybe one other instance that had people showing up and dressing like you while we were in Jonesboro. I mean, that's a whole nother level. Now, I don't know if you're going to become the next Halloween costume this year, if this win's going to elevate you all the way there. But you had people in Jonesboro showing up with long hair and wearing the shirts and the hats.
I can't wait to go to Halloween Express and get long hair frisbee thrower guy. Because they don't have the rights to James Conrad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun. Yeah, definitely just made me pretty much just bust out laughing. I was like, oh my goodness. So, it was nice of them though. I feel like they were like, I don't know if this is okay, but once I saw them and was like, yeah, this is awesome. They had a lot of fun with it.
When in doubt of being creepy, just go for it and ask for forgiveness later. That's what.
Don't say
okay,
that.
Never mind.
Don't say that because we have I'm afraid that flag shorts guy is going to show up somewhere. He might just run through the back of James's video at some point.
Is he here?
Yeah, he might be in our studio.
He might be. What was your favorite, or maybe you don't want to share this, reaction from one of your or reach out from one of your fellow competitors? Like someone that, we saw Ricky was right there to congratulate you. I think he might have hugged you and picked you up, for crying out loud. But I'm sure you've gotten a ton of messages in private. Like, is there one that sticks out to you that's super special?
Really, all of them felt pretty special. Pretty much each of the competitors out there I consider to be a good friend, and so they each, they're like everyone that was saying something to me, even if it was on social media or to me personally, it all felt genuine, and So very special. As far as publicly, I thought it was big of Paul to come out pretty quick and congratulate me the way that he did. I definitely appreciated that. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Paul. I think he's just such an amazing competitor, and he's one of my favorite people to compete with. And it definitely means something to come out on top when you're competing against him. So to feel his respect back to me was a good feeling.
Yeah, and maybe to follow that up briefly, one of the posts that he had made, I'm going to see if I can find it because I don't want to paraphrase it. I'd like to say it exactly. It's an incredible picture, thanks to Brittany Dickerson. But Paul had said on Instagram very quickly, this as the picture is is him looking at you, and Paul says, "This man threw the greatest shot in disc golf history. James Conrad, as much as it hurts to take second, I'm truly happy for you. Know this year you had something to prove. Huge thank you to everyone who came out to watch in person and online, and I hope we put on a great show." So, yeah, just clearly a classy moment, I think, by Paul, and kind of the joke that ran throughout. It was like, yeah, you need almost a miracle shot or the holy shot to beat Paul, and if there's a man to do it, you stepped up and you
JC
executed it. Yeah. Pretty incredible. Speaking of sponsorships, just to put it to rest, or not, obviously a lot of people generically throw out that you should have a Pantene sponsor. I'm guessing Pantene is not the brand or Head and Shoulders, but I mean, you would entertain the idea of a shampoo and conditioner sponsor, wouldn't you? Is there anyone you want to shout out that may or may not ever find this or listen?
I'm trying to even remember what kind I'm using right now. It might just be like Aussie, a 2-in-1, something like that.
Okay.
I know Jordan really likes this ginger shampoo and conditioner from the Body Shop. That's her favorite. I end up using that sometimes, and it's nice, but I'm not too picky. I only usually actually wash my hair maybe once or twice a week. I'd say about apart from that, I'll just tie the hair up and just kind of wash my body. But I feel like my hair doesn't get too oily, and it kind of works better if I don't wash it out with actual shampoo every day.
All right. Well, I mean, lots of people would say that's the no-brainer that we should be starting with, one of your signature attributes. But like you said,
Right.
It would be awesome to see you as the shoes and clothing sponsor. Also makes perfect sense as well. Man, it's hard to think for me to even process, and I'm just a guy that was there, saw it. I was right at the 3 o'clock position of the basket, so I saw it come in. I was just on the line, and I'm just now one of millions that got to witness it in the way I did. Johnny pressing the buttons, watching you run in.
That was the most chaotic. I was going to save this for the after show, but James is here. Like, you walked up to that shot, and all of us in the control room, and I think everyone in the world had it in their head, like, what if he hits this? And as the control room, we have to think, like, what are we going to do? And Mo said, do not instant replay it. And I said, if he hits this shot, I'm not going anywhere. So you hit the shot, and then my immediate thought right away is, back to James Conrad. Let's see a reaction. After I screamed, by the way. I went, whoa! And then I had all of us in the control room are like, all right, back at it. And I thought, back to James Conrad. But suddenly you were swarmed, and we couldn't see you. Then I thought, back to the basket. But the basket was getting swarmed. And then I thought, and then all I kept thinking is like, oh no, I don't have a shot. And then it hit me, go wide. Go to the top shot. And I just literally hit it, camera 5, and I threw my hands up. I said, all right, at some point we're going to see him run. And sure enough, you come running into the frame, and it was it was really cool. But all I kept thinking, and I'm screaming at my phone, like not in anger, but at the cameraman who can't hear a thing because the whole place went nuts. And all I kept getting back was, Johnny, we can't hear you. And I'm yelling. I felt bad for camera 5 because he's the only one way up there not by anybody. And he's got to listen to me scream at people. I know. He's just like, Johnny, I get it. But an amazing moment. I'm glad everybody has a story of where they were. I'm very blessed, as is Terry, to be able to say, like, the unique situation I was in to be able to like, because I think that shot that Sam had gotten and the DGPT one is like the definitive shot. I think that's the one that everybody has seen. You know, it'll be clipped out. It's clipped everywhere. You know, when someone looks up, you know, the holy shot, they're seeing our version. And I just think like that's awesome that I had a part in that. Like I got to pick what people saw for the rest of their life. Like this is awesome. But
that is cool.
But it's, you know, it's all because of, you know, you and your amazing shot.
Yeah, it's so funny how it gets all of us amped up just even talking about it. I don't know when it's ever going to get exhausting to you, but
we'll see.
I think
Not yet.
Good. James is, of course, we're going to give you a moment to, shout out your sponsors and provide any accolades. But aside from those, are there any other thoughts? Anything else you want to share with either us or the world or disc golf community at large? Is there anything else you want to share with us?
I feel like one cool thing about that shot to me, like apart from what it meant, is that, you know, it's just kind of like a catch throw, and like I just love playing catch with my friends, and I think that if more golfers and more, you know, more recreational disc golfers spent a little more time playing catch, they might be a little better at that kind of shot. I'm not saying that it's just going to go in because you play catch, but you know, if you get in a good rhythm in a catch game, it feels like you can hit the guy that's 100, 200 feet away pretty often. And it's not like I necessarily pictured my friend there. You know, I was definitely zeroed in 100% on the basket, but it's definitely just kind of felt like a slow turnover that you throw to a buddy on the beach or whatever. And it's pretty special for that shot to have been so important and so, you know, so widely viewed.
And do it with an envy.
Yeah.
Soft envy could be good for catch.
Very
they
much.
Are. There were talks, which I fully support, that people would love to go put a marker down on that spot, you know, assuming the course stays in the configuration and so forth, put a marker down on that spot as to where you threw from. If you were back out there right now, could you replace your mini within a few feet of where you were?
I think I could pretty close. There's the big tree on the right, and then that little tree in the fairway, and I have those as kind of a reference point. They just forced me to throw that little bit of an Anheuser, so just kind of just behind those.
Fair to say you'd love to see a little commemorative marker placed out there that this is the
that'd
shot.
Be cool. I think it'd be a ton of fun for people to step up to it and just kind of pretend they were me for a second. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Yuli said that, and that, like, think about all the kids and all the people for the next ever that are going to walk up to every shot that's about, I'm going to say 200 to 300 and be like, "Watch, I'm totally going to James Conrad this."
Yeah.
Right? It's going to go around and like you're going to become a verb.
Yeah.
Like, or when someone does hit one, like, "Oh yeah, dude, okay, James Conrad over there." Like that's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like, makes me think of like Kobe, you know, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so ubiquitous. It's pretty cool to be in a position to have that lasting of an impact on disc golfers.
Yeah, and Rob is one of the assistant TDs, the guy that was excitedly yelling out everyone's names and whatnot. He's telling us he's on the board. He's a big smashy. He's telling us that might be a tournament only position for that basket. But even if so, we'd still love to see the marker placed. And at some point, I'm sure that basket and that hole will be in that configuration. And heck, even if you're just out playing the fort randomly, like go find that spot, go take your picture, you know, tag James, because it's just going to be such an incredible spot, you know, forever cemented in history, that's for sure. Just absolutely incredible. 16,500 payday, your largest paycheck, some bonuses. Is there anything? I know you're so responsible and humble, but is there anything you're gonna splurge just a little on? I mean, it's Jordan's birthday. I mean,
right.
what? Any splurging going on?
Haven't really yet. We've yeah, we were talking about getting some nice massages this week, and just yeah, maybe going on a couple nice dates, going out to some nice restaurants in Minneapolis. I don't have any objects that I really want, at least not ones that would fit in the van. So um,
Okay.
that's a nice limiting factor. It's like it makes it easy to say no, I don't really need this object or this thing. I think it can get easy to get carried away by like consumerism and see an advertisement for like an electric bike or something and be like, oh, that thing looks awesome. But when you have like a very limited space, it's easy to realize that a lot of these things aren't necessarily that important, or you might enjoy it for a week and then it'd just be taking up space in your garage. But if you don't have a garage, you don't have that problem.
I just bought an electric bike,
Nice.
but I've got a garage.
And you didn't even win Worlds.
I did not win Worlds.
Man.
I saw the guy who did though.
Okay,
so.
well that works as well. So the question, a fair question, was, well, Rob's answering on the board saying a $500 bounty on hole 16 provided by Kurt Lampkin, the Frizz Whiz. So that may have been some ace pool action. I was going to ask, was there any additional ace pool? I mean, or didn't you ask? You're not getting greedy. Was there an ace pool that you were part of too?
I know I got the $500 bounty. I don't think there was a tournament ace pot, but it was pretty awesome. It was just $500 cash. Boom, that's
Yeah.
a pretty sweet ace pot.
When did you know that? Because I saw right after the ace, you turned, and one of the gentlemen up there was Kurt Lampkin, the Frizz Whiz, for some of you that may not know him, but a huge collector, overall, longtime disc golf enthusiast and historian. Did you know? Was he up there announcing it to every group that walked through? How did that come about?
They had a little sign kind of
Oh.
near the T sign that it was like an old West style like bounty, $500 bounty on this hole. And yeah, I think he had maybe mentioned it to me earlier in the week as well. And I think he even joked something along the lines of, if there's anyone that's going to get it, I expect it to be you. And I was able to do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, you might need room in the van to bring Kurt Lampkin along with you guys if he's gonna foreshadow for you like that. Well, James, I know I already said it, and I'll say it again. It's been such an honor. I've seen you in places like Thailand. I've seen you in Taiwan, and of course all your other stateside travels and your dominance, but also how you handle anytime you don't win, and the way you act on the course. It's truly inspiring. You're such a gracious and humble human, and yet fun to be around, and it's just awesome to see you succeed, and the way everyone rallies around and supports you and how you've performed. And the best part about it is you don't need to win for everyone to show the love and the support that they have, and that speaks 100% to your personality. And I'm right there in that boat. And I couldn't think of a more amazing world champion, and the way that you did it is so incredible, to have one of the most humble and gracious men perform one of the most unbelievable shots on the planet. Like, it's somewhat serendipitous. And congratulations, of course, again. And we'd love to give you the floor, one final time. Shout out sponsors, supporters, anyone else that you'd love to say anything to right now.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words. I want to give a huge shout out to all my fans, especially ones back in Virginia. I know that there's a bunch of y'all that were watching and cheering me on from home, and that really means the world to me. I heard people telling me about watch parties they had, and people just losing their mind at the local tournament they were at. Like, I know my dad was down at Harmon Hills in Tennessee, which isn't too far from home, and they had a little tournament going on. He said there was probably 50 of them sitting around watching just on phones, when I was able to win. And he said it was just an amazing experience. So huge shout out to all those guys. And I've said it before, but want to say again that a thank you to my tour family, the people that I travel with out here on tour, and even the people I compete against. Like, the sportsmanship that I experienced out on the course out there was just phenomenal all week. Like, there wasn't a single person on a single one of my cards that was like bringing down the vibes or complaining the whole time or anything like that. And it was just a pleasure to be out there competing, and that makes it so much easier to compete well. So I definitely want to thank those guys for competing with me and for, even while playing against me, cheering me on. It's a pretty special feeling. And then obviously a huge shout out to MVP Disc Sports. They make great stuff. Like I wasn't sure how long it would take me to get comfortable, but clearly not too long. And they've been just so excited for me, even from day one, and even more so now. I mean, if possible, and I'm excited to see what we're able to do together. So thanks to them. And then also you guys yourselves and all the media crews. Like those are some great videos that people posted, not just of the clip, but the whole rounds. And I didn't get a chance to watch the men's live coverage, but I watched a good portion of the FPO tournament on the Disc Golf Network, and it was looking so good, sounding good, and it's really cool how far that stuff's come. And as these tournaments get closer and closer and the fields get deeper and deeper, I think that having that live broadcast is going to continue to get bigger and bigger, and y'all are killing it. So thanks.
All right. Well, James and Jordan, you want to? We just can't say it enough times. Thank you for everything you provided, and not obviously not just tonight, but I mean for everything you bring to the game and your spirit, and to go out as champion, to have the week that you did, to put on the performance that you did, to even put yourself into a position to have that clutch shot. Everything aligned and all came to you, and we couldn't be happier about it. So we're going to again say thank you. My only regret on the week, I didn't get a picture with you right after, but I know I'm going to see you in a few weeks, but that's a selfish one on my part. I can't say enough about how awesome it is to see you crowned champion. Congratulations. We're going to sign you off as our 2021 world champion, James Conrad. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks, James.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Later.
Bye.
And just like we did for Cat, I want to watch it again.
Let's just put it on repeat.
It'll get us more subscribers.
James Conrad with the turnover.
And you were right here to the left, like just off to the left.
Barely off screen on the left side. See, in that case.
That's me yelling. All right, take camera 1. No, wait, crap, I can't find him. All right, back to camera 2. Let's go to camera 2. And you can't see him here. Like, oh crap! All right, camera 5.
There it is.
There you go. Camera 5 will be the camera, and just my favorite. I know nobody should have been charging the green. Nobody should have been charging. I understand, but Ricky, pretty awesome.
Yeah, so incredible. There's Jordan, runs up, gives the hug, and he just jogs off. And runs it all the way back, and everyone's just in complete disbelief of what they just saw. Just incredible. UDisc Dan is there, wondering, like, darn it, how far away is this? Because they logged it at 247 feet.
Yeah, there's been some, I don't say debate, but UDisc Dan put it at 247. I heard 252 on another podcast. I mean, I don't know what the official number is. I think
it was when I looked, because a reporter asked me after the fact, like a local reporter, she's like, how far away was that, blah blah blah, and I'm like, it should be in UDisc, and then I had to teach her how to rotate her phone, and then it popped down and it said 247. So that's what's been ingrained in my mind,
and that's what I've heard
ever
too.
Since. So,
but how did he get that number? Did he use an edge?
He could have done that, or I think there's some new products. Hush, hush, quiet, quiet. Exclusive info later. I know there's some new products they're working on, and so on and so forth. But yeah, they marked it at 2. I'm not going to argue with it. If somebody wants to tell you, no, it's 252 or 239.
Yeah, no, I'm good with 247.
247. We were so close. It's so
that's
dumb,
what,
but
that's what UDisc says, and UDisc is our stat analysis. And in 5 years, no one's gonna remember. Like, wait, what was it? Let me look at UDisc. Oh yeah, 247. That's the number. Whether it is or isn't, that's the number.
Yeah. 24/7 is an easy way to remember it. I was thinking our podcast was so close to being almost one number above each in three. If we would have been 358, we would have been exactly 111 more. So anyway, whatever. 247 feet. That's what you just had it at. If you don't like that, take it up with Dan and his colorful shirt. Okay?
That's true. Dan always has some colorful shirts.
He does, and I can respect that.
You can call him Jumpman from now on, because him and Anthony Barella had the most air, I believe. Like, if you look at Anthony Barella in the background, that dude, he's already tall. He's already a tall kid, but he was like an entire body length practice, like half a body length above everybody. And Udis Dan was, jumping up. It was...
Here's the best part. For all of these years, I've referred to Dan, who's a big smashy. We hope you're out there, Dan. I've referred to him as Hype Man Dan. And so when this happens and this goes down, he's still Hype Man Dan. There's no need for a nickname change there, as you could imagine. So as they go out there, it's still listed as 247. So to me, that is the official distance. And if you want to argue otherwise, you take it up with James Conrad. All right, that's what I would say to that.
All right, real quick. We should probably go over a few of the results for Worlds.
None of them matter.
We had
all those other people don't matter. We had the two that matter.
You're not wrong. McBeth,
all right,
losing in the playoff, takes second. Sexton having a great week, kind of a dark horse with as little as he's been playing. Awesome job taking third. Chris Dickerson sneakily got up there into fourth. I mean, he'd been playing pretty decent, but he had, again, a pretty solid round. He cooled off on the back nine, but was able to, maintain fourth. Tied with Kevin Jones, who just had that unfortunate 16 incident where he, went in the water and then missed a putt and all this other stuff. So Kevin Jones, but what a great showing. Greg Barsby, sixth place, our 2018 champion. Ricky Wysocki, seventh place. Eagle and Kale. Kale was my pick, darn it. And Kyle Klein all tied for eighth. So congratulations to our top 10. Real quick, we'll go through the FPO. Katrina Allen, obviously, who we had on earlier tonight. She wins, beating Paige Pierce in an epic hole 18.
The 90th hole.
The 90th hole. Paige Pierce just,
not getting it done.
Not getting it done. Lisa Fakis, surprising a lot of people. Fakis,
not me.
I mean, we all know Fakis is good. She's had her highlights, but she's been relatively quiet lately. We've seen people like Kona and Own and Missy Gannon and even Sayananda lately has been playing really well. Lisa just took it over, and she shot very well. And if it weren't for that whole 16 where she just unfortunately just let the moment get to her, I think, and she didn't go through a routine or whatever she didn't do, she three putted, and it was just wasn't meant to be. Here's my hot take. If Lisa Fakis puts in that putt, Paige Pierce wins Worlds. I know it sounds silly, but I think Lisa and Kat push Paige to not lay up on 18. Paige, because if Paige doesn't lay up and she goes for the green harder and more aggressively like she's used to, I think she ends up winning. And again, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But I much like Paul said, James took the option out of his hand to only make the one choice that was there. I think the chips fall differently if Lisa works her way up. But you know what? You can't go back and rewrite history. So fourth place was Haley King. Fifth place, our foreign competitor, Kristen. Not true. We had
Albert and Silver, but
Albert
our
and Silver
only
left.
FPO foreign.
Our only FPO foreign was Kristen Tatar. So she as well had some rough putting, and it's got to be tough, to quarantine and then probably not feel the way you want to and have the time change. Like, it just, we saw things that were uncharacteristic of her, but she still managed to hold on to fifth place. Sixth place, Owen Scoggin. Seventh place, Sarah Hokum. Tied for eighth, Missy Gannon and Sai Ananda. So congratulations to our top 10 women as well.
Very nice. Yeah, incredible to see. Obviously, yeah, it was such a memorable Worlds experience from start to finish. 90 holes of golf, in James and Paul's case, 91. To see it go into a playoff, of course, as we touched on, ultimately to see McBeth still force it all the way to the final and then some, and to have his record of which he does in the World Championship finishes over the last 10 years, 9 or 10 years, has been incredible. And James Conrad said, "This is my year, and I'm going to go take it," and he did in just an incredible fashion. I guess maybe the only other thought that came in and out of my mind while talking to James was, if there's anything he thought of when he saw Paul's trickle out of bounds, or maybe when he saw Paul's playoff shot, if he thought it came in hot, or if he was even, how invested was he in seeing the result of that at the time. That was the only other thing that I just thought of. But regardless, doesn't matter. James Conrad pulled up in that clutch moment, made it happen, and became your champion, which is just so incredible. So, gosh, believe it or not, someone else won this weekend, Johnny.
Who else was a winner this weekend?
Getting his 300th.
Elaine King.
Nope, that was last week.
No, Elaine King got 300.
She did. She did. And somehow this other gentleman got his 300th, none being World Championships, but still incredibly impressive. Our good friend of the show, Brian Schweberger.
Congratulations, Schwebby. I congratulated him. He was on the board earlier. I congratulated him for 300.
Yes. Clearly an insane milestone for both Elaine and...
within a week of each other.
Yeah. Well, and to think there's some players who won't even play 300 tournaments in their life, let alone the opportunity to win 300 or be in contention for 300 victories. I mean, obviously 100 is usually a typical milestone that we're making big note of on the professional side. That's got maybe a dozen-ish, maybe a little more than a dozen players that have done that. I'm sure Statmando, quick plug for them, has that. We could find it, but to see someone like Elaine and Schwebby, both of them, so in their own rights, congratulations to both of them. Elaine, of course, with a number of more world titles than
everybody, except for maybe Dave Greenwell.
I was going to say then Schwebby. Someone had asked, quickly before we get into the after show, someone had asked about if Paige had heard a baby or something of that nature. I don't know if that was the case, if anything was in fact heard or not.
Did you hear it when you were there?
I didn't, but I'm deaf in one ear.
Yeah. You could clearly
hear
hear something on the broadcast.
Okay.
Because it was dead silent.
Okay. Well,
and then suddenly, and as Paige is just about to, pulling through, it sounds like a child, or an infant,
or an adult struggling,
But it sounded like it was like a whine or a cry, and she may have never heard it. If you didn't hear it and you were down there on site, maybe she didn't hear it as well. You can't hear it in the CCDG, but I think they kind of push the audio down a bit because it's very clear in our broadcast that you can hear that. And Paige will probably never admit if it affected her.
Well, here's what I'll follow that up and say, though. And this is 100%, I almost hate to even say speculation because I'm usually not all about it. If there was, and if it was heard, there is a chance, and I only say this from what I saw earlier in the round, hole 4, there's a chance if there was in fact an audible baby cry, there's also a chance it came from within her own family unit. I believe she had a newborn nephew, cousin. A relatively newborn nephew that was in attendance because I think I saw some of her family. I know I saw her dad holding a newborn or a infant. It's funny how I refer to kids when I have two of my own. But was holding a very small human. I believe on hole 4 that was in a stroller at one point. So, and I'm nothing more than speculating here that if in fact there was that noise, there is also a possibility it therefore then came from within her own,
It's possible.
we'll say, family unit. And so that's all I'll say about it, because I didn't hear it, so I can't. And nor did I, obviously, therefore, did I look or investigate. But just to put it out there, if there's a chance. Now, it could have been somebody else out there with a kid.
Yeah, it was on 18. There was a bunch of people there. I'm sure there were some other kids there as well.
So just saying that's also a possibility. And I know there was, because I saw Paige's dad pick up an infant.
Was it
on hole 4?
Did he know who?
Unless he's out picking up random
just
kids.
randomly like, hey, this looks like a cute kid. You want to learn disc golf? Look at my daughter. You know,
Pretty sure that's not how it went. But then again, we're in the realm of speculation. So, yes, it is what it is. All right. Yeah, I think we should get Johnny to play the flag shorts guy in the movie, in the reenactment. We have Johnny running around.
I don't believe that's a good idea.
And then you jump
in the water at the end.
Yeah, in the water. So, all right, Johnny, do we want to close it out? Do we want to get to an after show?
We can get to an after show.
We've got an incredible amount of viewers. Thank you. A lot of you are new tonight, and I know that because of the sheer numbers that are here. We just can't say enough about our world champions and the performances that they put forth. So honored that they both were able to keep up with kind of our Smashbox tradition. Normally, after most big events, we try to get at least one or both of the winners on from any event, sizable event on any given week. Usually that's after a national tour or any major or something, or a Disc Golf Pro Tour. That's kind of our standard format. More often than not, unless you're like Paige, who had one at one point, 5 weeks in a row. So we didn't have her on every single week. We spread some other love around, but that's kind of our format. But the fact that we were able to do both Kat and James are not frequently guest on many media podcast type appearances.
It meant a lot to me to have James on, because we've had Kat on a few times, and she's very gracious with her time, for these big things like this. But James, he's a very private individual, and usually he's traveling, which means he doesn't necessarily always have great cell signal when he's between tournaments and stuff. And we've tried to have him on before, and it doesn't always work. I think we had him on for USDGC.
Possibly. I know he for as many times as he's won, we haven't had him on after all of those.
No, and so it meant a lot to have him on tonight.
Yeah, we can't say enough to them and their sponsors and their supporters, which clearly many of you are, since we have so many new watchers here tonight. That's typically what we do on most of our weekly shows, in featuring some of our very special guests. More often than not, they're the big winners. So we're going to close out what's called our regular show, which really means we just stand down for a moment, maybe 30 to 60 to 90 seconds. We stand down, and then we come back with what we call our after show. That's where stuff sometimes can get off the rails. We love to continue to have disc golf conversations, but we also check in with our chat boards, and the conversation can go literally anywhere. Not often does it go into, say, religion or politics, but almost anywhere besides those places is where the conversation can go. And also, we love when you interact with us on the chat board, because if you have specific questions, we try to answer those directly from the chats.
And I want to say, while we still have, quite a few hundred people here, if you like what we do, you can support us at patreon.com/SmashboxTV. We have all sorts of different tiers and levels. I'm working on the clothing tier right now with Miles for our second quarter clothing. So please, if you're interested, patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
And if you don't like what we do, I don't blame you. We're just a couple of yahoos that are 350 episodes into this silliness. So we're going to close it out. Stay right here, though. Like I said, we're just going to shut down the show for a moment, and then we come back with what we call our after show. We've got to send a huge shout-out yet again to Catrina Allen, your 2021 FPO World Champion, and, of course, James Conrad, your 2021 MPO Champion. Thank you. Looking forward to the next year as you guys reign as our world champions, and thank you so much for your time to both of you. You're incredible champions, and I just thank you. That's what I can say. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been Smashbox TV's podcast 357, World Champ Edition. Stay tuned. We'll be right back when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 357's After Show. Here we are. It's the after show, guys. Thank you so much. We got more people than normal that are lingering around. We appreciate you guys for joining us, checking in tonight. Of course, no surprise to see a great turnout as we caught up with Catrina Allen along with James Conrad and
both the
Johnny.
world champs.
Should we lead off the show by again showing some incredible shots? I mean, we've got them right here.
I do have them right here. This is the Conrad shot.
Okay. Yeah, that looks like James.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it's tracking to the basket.
The funny part is, Catrina's shot, it was harder. Hands down.
Certainly.
I mean, that is...
Yeah.
No question.
The angle and the position in which Catrina was in. Now, clearly, she did not put it in the basket, but she also had to force that shot to then put the pressure onto Paige. And, yeah, just incredible for her to do what she did. Who would have thought? I mean, as we're watching Catrina's shot from much further back.
You can't see it on this angle, but everyone knows that it lands. I like the reaction better on this one.
Wow.
Just the fist pump.
And she even says it. She told us in the show.
Oh, there's the fist bump from T-Bear.
I gave her one. Yep. She even said it during the show that she's like, that might be, one of the most excited or worked up you've ever seen me. And rightfully so. It was a shot that deserved all of it. It was absolutely incredible.
And of course, James's shot, much more impactful and meaningful for everything that's around it. But Catrina, a tougher angle, tougher shot. So here's the debate, Terry, that's going on.
Oh, jeez.
Is Conrad's shot the greatest shot in our sports history? I mean, we've seen some iconic shots.
Yeah,
the Philo-Batros, or is that what it's called? The
Philotros?
Elba Philo? I don't know. We've seen that. We've seen huge putts from players to
Kale at the Majestic a number of years ago.
Ricky
to
at the
force
Memorial
a playoff with Kenny. Yeah.
I mean, I think there is the inside the sport greatest shot, and there's the outside the sport greatest shot. I think, personally, this is the greatest outside the sport shot. This will be bigger than Philo's Albatross. But is it the greatest shot inside of our sport?
I mean, clearly, are there more, are there higher difficulty shots that have been executed and filmed? Sure, there are, but not. That's where it's funny as to which qualifier you're using, because clearly when it comes to clutch in the moment shots, there has not been. I mean, Kevin Jones acing after slipping at Maple Hill in an OTB skins match, clearly one of the most incredible shots you'll ever see, but there were no
big
significant
as well outside the sport
contributions after that.
I said big as well outside of the sport. Like, it got a lot of play.
For sure. And that's never to take anything away from Kevin's shot, but clearly not nearly as impactful given the moment of winning a hole at the OTB skins or a few carryover skins possibly. Kale, I know we talked about that. Most of you won't even know what we're referencing, but a huge 80-foot downhill putt to then force a playoff with Ken Climo at the Minnesota Majestic, which is one of the Midwest's largest A tiers or NTs or whatever it was that year. Clearly, I mean, it gives me chills every time I've ever rewatched that shot.
Yeah. For whatever reason, and maybe it's so early in our career, I think of the big Ricky putt at Blue Ribbon Pines to beat Sexton after they went, what was it, like a 4-hole playoff or 5 holes or something? They just kept going back and forth. And Sexton had a few missed ones, but Ricky hits this 80 to 100.
No, they hit Ricky at BRP, I feel like was like 60 or 70.
60 or 70 foot putt.
Still, yeah.
A gorgeous putt, and he runs it down. I think of these great iconic shots, and clearly none of them are world championship shots.
Ricky's original Raptor leg shot at the Masters Cup 2016, where the Raptor legs were born. Him making that shot that ultimately pulled him one ahead of Paul as they were battling all the way down the stretch. Spoiler, battling down the stretch to the final hole, and Paul didn't answer from inside where Ricky was, and Ricky had made that incredibly long putt. So there's clearly a ton of really important, really impactful shots, but when it comes to clutch in the moment, this is what you dream of as a kid when you're sitting at the free throw line and you're like, okay, overtime, 7th game of the series, you've got to make one free throw to win it, because time's expiring.
No kid thinks about that. No,
sure they have.
No kid thinks about the free throw.
Or bottom of the ninth.
No, dropping
World Series.
If you're a basketball, you're thinking about dropping that 3, like putting up a 3. You're not thinking I'm at the free throw line. I'd say there's no challenge, but there's no one in your face. There's no one like you're thinking you're going to do a Kobe fadeaway or hit that miraculous, was it Kawhi Leonard that hit the 3-pointer in the corner? That's what you're dreaming about. You're not dreaming about standing at a free throw line.
No time left. I don't know. Either way, Kirk Gibson in the bottom of the ninth, limping around the bases. What was that? The '88 World Series again, depending, as he's off the DH and whatever, out, pinch hitting and can barely walk around the bases.
Tiger chipping it in at the Masters.
Yeah, you think about the most clutch moments of all time.
They're rarely the most
win something
difficult shots. They're the most impactful.
Yeah,
so to win something.
As many will say, I know there's been podcasts, there's been all sorts of conversation and speculation. Nothing comes to my mind, and I know a lot of people are also screaming that Simon's shot at Conapiste a few years ago also incredibly significant. I don't disagree that it wasn't incredibly significant. It still wasn't the world's. Amazing, incredible, absolutely. A few years ago, now I'm really getting old. 6, 8, 10 years ago, Nico LaCastro aced the final hole at Fountain Hills to force a playoff with Paul Ulibarri, but he aced hole 18. He was down 1 or 2, whatever the case was. I think he was down 1, and aces. Uli parks it, and then Nico aces it to force a playoff. Also, that's 400 feet, OB on your left, OB on your right. Now, because that was an A tier or a B tier at the time, clearly doesn't carry quite the impact and the significance. Cool, but and clutch, certainly. He went on to then lose that playoff, if I recall. But, yeah, clearly, one of the greatest shots of all time. It's I don't know what else you can say about it. And is it officially the holy shot?
We're dubbing it. It's we didn't come up with it, but I think we're going to put our stamp of approval on it. The holy shot. It just fits. It fits every category. It's got a great kind of punish thing to it, because I think everybody when they hit it yelled "holy shot." It's got the JC factor to it. I think the holy shot is the official dubbed term.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and take it.
I'll take that, Nate W. It was the holy shot at Cat's Corner.
Sure.
We can do that.
I think that makes sense. Grant is asking, wasn't it a C tier, not the yeah, it was not the Memorial. I know that much. It was not. I think it was like the Fountain Hills Thrills or a warm-up event or something of that nature. It was not the Memorial where he had done that. But RJ is saying Colling's putt to force the playoff was epic.
That was
certainly epic.
Yep.
And obviously clutch. That was at hole 18, of course, at the Memorial. A number of years ago, probably 2013, 2014, whatever your Prodigy. No, it wasn't the year Prodigy. Whatever. Anyway, sometime around that. Yeah, it's certainly clutch. I would agree with that. Not as significant as this, but certainly clutch. That's for sure. Someone is asking, was Worlds really Worlds with all the without all of the international pros competing, specifically Finland? It is, because we waited a whole year. Worlds was postponed and not held last year. And obviously that was both the COVID itself, but also because of a lack of international contingency. We could come up with a reason to not call it Worlds every year if you really wanted to. I feel like I could always find some minute or semi-significant reason to claim an asterisk or put out some other excuse or reasoning for why it shouldn't be called X, Y, or Z. We saw some players, albeit a tough sacrifice. We saw 3 players in Albert Tom, Silverlot, and Kristen Tatar all go through some somewhat extreme conditions of going and quarantining for somewhere for 2 weeks and then ultimately coming here. So for some players, it was absolutely feasible. When are we going to not call it Worlds? I mean, let's just say next year. Let's fast forward a year and say there's still 3 countries that may or may not even play disc golf, but they absolutely, no one from that country can leave the country. Are we going to say, well, technically not everyone could come? I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm not fully dismissing it, but at the same time, we can't sit around and hold on to that logic, I think, forever. So, yes, Thomas Gilbert is here, of course, from Canada. However, his path to being here and playing here is not the hurdle that our Estonian friends had to be here. That's
RJ asks, is there a chance of having Worlds overseas? There was one in Canada, of course. Otherwise, always in the U.S. Yeah.
Yes.
I think I've gone on record saying that 2024, or did I say 2023? I forget. One of those 2 years, I think we'll see Worlds overseas. I think it's no later than 2024. I think an international contingent will put in a bid and get the bid from Worlds, because I believe that the pressure now is so high to have it overseas. Like, everybody's asking, well, when's it going to go? When's it going to be there? We have this large European contingent. Like, let's get it over there. I think that you will see a bid come in and get accepted from the PDGA.
Yeah, I would go on with that bet, and I would say yes. I would be willing to bet that probably Finland seems the most logical at this point. I think we will see a Worlds in Finland. It could. I'll go ahead and say it could be Sweden, could be Norway, but if I were to put down some money, it would be on Finland, and I would agree with Johnny. I wouldn't be surprised if we were in Finland for the World Championships sometime in the next 3 years. Won't be next year, so maybe one of the 2 years after that.
Well, Federico Sorensen says that there's already a bid in from the NBDG, the people who organize the tourney.
Yeah, natural-born disc golfer over there in Finland. Whether it's there in their neck of the woods or not, that was just outside of Helsinki. But, we'll see. John M., who's a super chatter, thanks, John M. We appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot,
says,
John M.
Going to my first ever DGPT event this summer, the Preserve Championship, do you have any good tips as a first-time spectator? I mean, these would be generic, but if you're looking for tips, sure. One, bring a small cooler and or your own at least water carrying device, if not all of your own water cooler. Clearly, all of the events have a challenge in, especially during the hottest months, keeping water available to all the players, and then you certainly don't want to be taking the players' water if that's in any short supply. You don't want to be taking any of the players' waters for you as a spectator because, well, the players need it a little bit more. So bring your own cooler or just be prepared to buy some stuff on site. Maybe that's obvious. Obviously, your sunscreen, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Number one, keep your phone muted and on vibrate or entirely on mute for the entire time. And then I think, honestly, probably one of the number one things for people to remember, besides giving the players enough space just in general, is you can be in line with a player or you can be in their line of sight, even behind them or behind a basket or something. If you find yourself there, just play statue. You want to just get there and stand perfectly still. And that doesn't mean stand really still and then maybe reach up and adjust your sunglasses or your hat or do something. You stand 100% still while they are preparing their actual throw. And I cringe when I'm watching a gallery that's relatively still and you'll see someone doing a really good job of being still, and at the last moment they'll turn or they'll look or they'll adjust their hat. It feels like a very minor move to them, but it can be really distracting when everyone else is perfectly still. So outside of that, bring Sharpies and some discs to have signed or buy some on site. That'd be another good tip. There's going to be a lot of great merchandise out there, I know, at least from the Pro Tour and probably the Airborne. So bring some money and then bring some nice, fresh Sharpies so that you can have people sign stuff. Those would be my tips.
Those are good tips.
Thanks. Did you feel like... Oh, and I do want to give it a quick shout out. I don't know if this is rumor or hearsay or just stuff I'm speculating or making up. Could be all of those. I think I heard that the World Championships had spent in excess of $10,000 to have all of the bottled water that they did out there this week.
That wouldn't shock me. With the temperatures that were going on, you just... Yeah. Do what you have to do.
So that's just one minor side note to the whole big picture, but incredible. Obviously, a ginormous effort to put on the event. They were very gracious. I believe they were handing out waters to all the spectators, anyone that needed one. That was a case where they had more than enough, but that's a tip of the hat to the crew over there. And to be fair, a lot of people don't think about those types of things of what it takes. I know a lot of people can challenge where money's coming and going and things that need to be done, but to think that you spent $10,000 on water, and that's probably with some form of a sponsorship attached to it already. Congratulations and thanks for all of that. Someone had asked about the Celebrity Pro-Am that's taking place, which ultimately I think is shortly after Des Moines. The generic details that we can share or throw out there is that we know it's taking place shortly after Des Moines and will be happening about 10 minutes from my house, just down not too far from where I live. I believe Ben Askren is going to be the host of the event. And there's a number of things that are all coming into play. I think a lot of the details are still being sorted out, but as of right now, it's happening shortly after the Des Moines Challenge, sometime that week after. All right, reading on some other things. Karen had said, great interviews. Thank you. I mean, we couldn't go wrong. Yeah,
it's hard to mess up interviews with the two world champs.
Especially when they're as great as they were. Rob, who was the assistant out there and poured his heart and soul, he got to take a breather one of the nights. I met one of his children and then his wife, and he sat down for a moment and actually somewhat was able to enjoy a meal. And Rob, I can't say enough about how hard you were working out there, so thank you, buddy. He says pallets and pallets of water and all of the ice to go in the water. I didn't even think about ice. It was insane. It was so hot out there.
I don't necessarily think you need ice, but Warm water is fine. I don't like it personally. I mean, I'll drink it, but
I think
but just
we'll say room temperature water would have probably felt refreshing.
Yeah.
But in those when it's 103, you would have gotten hot water
Hot
had
water.
you just let it sit out. It was crazy. And fingers crossed, whatever you want to say. Again, hats off to I didn't hear of any official hospital visits or heat exhaustions or
pretty amazing.
Sunstrokes, or I heard of none of that. I'm not saying they didn't happen. I'm happy I wasn't victim to any of that.
Yeah, you don't even look very red. You look like you.
I got a little red a couple of the days, and now I'm officially just peeling, so it's all gone.
Yeah.
But I will say, it was hot out there, and the way everyone handled it was pretty incredible. And yes, bring sunscreen. That is a good move.
Razorhausen asks, does this event immediately jump to the number one reason live disc golf is necessary? Depends on who you ask. I mean, Terry and I have said it's relatively necessary for every major for the past 5 or 6 or 7 years. You could argue, is it necessary at every event? Elite series and up? I mean, we would like to think so. I think that there was it just wouldn't have had, that shot would not have had the same impact in post-production.
No.
I'm sure they would, and they have, and a lot of people have done a great job with it. But that emotion and community around it, the way, I'm not kidding when I say I looked at some of the graphs for the chat and the board and the engagement for YouTube on our live stream, and it looked like a Bitcoin chart because it went flat, 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 and spiked up, and then spiked down, flat, 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 and then you could see when he won the playoff because it spiked up again and spiked down. It was amazing, just the instant sharing of it so quickly. I mean, you wouldn't have gotten the social media push with a post-production like that because everybody watches it at a different time. This was a disc golf community event, and that shot is one of the reasons. I mean, it's one of the reasons we've always done live, but I think one of the reasons why live is so important in our sport right now.
Yeah, I mean, I continue to toe the line of I love live, I love being part of live, and I think post is great, and post has its place.
Yeah.
They both can coexist. However, if you're looking for the raw excitement at the largest events on the planet, I just don't know how you could ever fully embrace what it was and the experience that we all had, whether you were there in the moment at physically on site or whether you were watching it live on a device somewhere around the world. I don't know how you could ever think something rivals that. And that's not a rip on post. It's just the reality of, like you said, the instant that everyone around the world was watching that at the exact same time, and the thunderous roar that rippled throughout the entire disc golf world because of that shot. Like, it's just, I don't know how you would ever argue otherwise.
I hope somebody woke up on Sunday morning,
in Thailand, where it was the middle of the night.
No, turned on ESPN and got ruined by ESPN.
I know. I do like that idea.
I really like that idea that someone was like, I'm gonna save myself. I'm gonna wait. And they turn on the sports and they're like, did you see this amazing shot from James Conrad? And they're like, no. So
Ray also asks, I'll read a few more things here, saying, how much crowd reaction is too much for you guys? Was Shorts Guy out of line, or should there be more of him?
He was out of line. He shouldn't be that close. I'm not saying that close. He shouldn't be on the green. He shouldn't be on the fairway. I don't think anybody should have been on the green and fairway. I understand it's
after the shot went in.
After the shot went in, like, that's just. We still had players playing. Paul still had to make an upshot. as you see Ricky, he almost steps on a disc that's standing there on the green, sitting there on the green. And I think it's just Calvin's disc, but and I'm sure he was kind of keeping an eye on it. And I know it's very difficult. There's a lot of emotions going on, and I don't blame anybody for it. But like, the game's not over.
Correct.
And it made for a phenomenal look. It made for a great thing. Flag Shorts guy is a fan. He definitely shouldn't be out there doing that. You know, some of the players I give a little bit more leeway to, but man, and I give mad props to Jeff Spring and a lot of the DGPT crew that were like immediately hustling people off of that fairway. Just like within moments, everybody rushed it, and Jamie Thomas, I think I saw, like people were like pushing them back, rallying them back. I understand it's emotional, and everyone's rooting for James, and you know, the disc and the moment. But man, like there was a small part of me that was just like, really, like stay off the fairway, like we're not done yet. And
yeah,
it didn't affect anybody, and I think everybody was good with it. But
yeah, I mean, of course I didn't love it. Clearly, you know, as some people have said, you know, is this one guy overshadowing, you know, everyone else's excitement?
Because you could say
was
the same
he
thing
at
about
all
the spotter who was dancing around.
Yeah, I mean, was there at all, you know, did this I'm somewhere in the middle of all of it. Do I love it? No. Would it have been me? No. But was it the most egregious thing ever? Either. No. I mean, he's not ripping off fireworks and shooting off fireworks. You know, someone said, well, because he's shirtless, you know, could there be a shirtless person at any other live sporting events? I mean, like, I understand all the other arguments that go on.
I don't mind his outfit and his dress.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he kind of looks like a Yahoo when he's running around our fairways.
I mean,
but guess you
can
you can go to, no, for everybody. I'm sorry. You can, but you can go to any college football game and see just as many Yahoos like that. But they're not running on the field if they can help it. Like, and I get it. When your team makes a last minute buzzer beater and the fans rush the court, I get it. But the game's over. You don't do that with 1 second left. You do that when you do that. If James had won and then everybody rushed, I'd have no problem with it. It was just the fact that it was thing. And again, I have all the forgiveness in the world for these people. This is an emotional experience. We have been waiting 22 months for a Worlds. There are people out there that have never seen a World Championship, and they see this one, and nothing will ever live up to it again. I'm sorry, folks. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Like, then next year will probably be a 5-stroke or 6-stroke win, and there'll be zero drama on 18. It'll be somebody walking it in. We get it. I don't think anyone's ever going to see another finish like this in our lifetime at Worlds.
Yeah, it was. It's hard to say a lot about what was in the moment and being out there, and clearly some people are a little more amped up than others. I think that's how.
I love the excitement.
Yeah, that gentleman lives his life, and
if he had ran around behind the green, I have zero problem with it. Like, but the fact that he went on the green and some people were going on the fairway, that's where I have an issue. Like, off the field until it's done. That's just me. But I did. RJ says JVD embraced some of the chaos. I did embrace it. I got to show it. I thought it was awesome. It was awesome TV. Like, the you cannot recreate that. It would not have looked as good if people had done it my way. Period. Like, you know, you have the players behind him going nuts, cool, but you don't have everybody rushing. Ricky's not running onto the thing to give him, like, his girlfriend's not giving him a hug in the fairway. If people stay off that, you don't get that. And I understand that. What I want and what looks best are two completely different sides of a coin.
Well,
so
and
just my, you know.
Someone's on here saying, you know, if there would have been, you know, people holding back with rope or something of that nature, that would have gotten plowed over.
Yeah.
I'm confident of that. You know, it was a crazy moment, and it's really tough to understand. I mean, there was nothing to me, there was nothing incredibly egregious that took
Correct.
place. There was nobody went out and, lifted up the basket and was, holding it over their head, and nobody was plowing through the crowd with a golf cart or anything silly like that. That's what I can say to it. And I understand all the perspectives of, did it make us look silly, or did it make us look like we have wild, enthusiastic fans?
Mm-hmm. I'm good with
it. It did both.
Yep.
It could kind of do both. So it is what it is.
I asked MVP Steve, I said, how does it feel to have to know that there's a disc that crushed your company? Because they're going to be overwhelmed for the next 4 or 5 months. Not that they weren't already. He had pointed me to an article on their site about saying how they've, I think, quadrupled their employee count from 20 to 100 or 5 times. And they went to a new warehouse, and they went from 2 molding machines to 10 molding machines, or whatever they've all done. And that's not enough now. You just put NVs on all of them right now. I don't know if you can. I don't know how their system works. I'm sure it doesn't work that way, but you just a single shot, and it will definitely frustrate many a fan. So hopefully, I think James had said hopefully 6 weeks or so until they can get, hopefully, the NVs out with whatever specialty they're going to do with it.
I'm sure it will be incredible and collectible and highly sought after, of course. And let's be being real about it, that almost no matter what disc was made, people are going to want it to support James. They're going to want it to support the moment. Cool that it's a putter as well. Just the fact that there's going to be something to commemorate and or be part of it makes perfect sense. Love seeing it.
Dane Fishbow, thank you for your super chat. He says MVP Discs website has nothing about James Conrad winning Worlds. Prodigy's website has Kat hoisting her trophy front and center. Such a huge opportunity to push MVP and James. MVP lagging a bit, I feel. If they don't have anything on there, I would say that's a misstep on their part right now. Terry's going to go to MVP Discs, and you're right. There's nothing. It probably should be front and center somewhere. I'm guessing that won't be for long, and I also understand that they are. I don't know all the details, but what MVP Steve did say is that even before James had done this, they were getting ready for and I don't know what it is, but the biggest rollout of their company history.
Well, I know that they had undergone a whole new ordering system.
Yep,
I'm
the
an
ERP
authorized
system.
dealer of them. Yeah, they're undergoing a whole new thing.
But I think this is something different. They're ready to.
Sure.
They're just about to roll out product wise, the biggest product release, and I don't know. He didn't share it with me what it was. I don't know what it is, but they were getting ready for something, and then this hits. So talk about a tough situation. He said he hadn't slept more than a few hours each night, and he's loving it. I have a little bit of forgiveness in that, but definitely, I'm sure if you're still listening, MVP Steve, please get something on your website.
Good call. All right. It is on their Twitter. It's on their Twitter, and their Instagram is being said. But yes, maybe they are missing out on a few of the opportunities that could get some stuff out there. Greg Webb saying James missed his greenie until the last couple tourneys, and his putter started getting consistent again.
Well, maybe it has to do with the Nomad that he helped design.
Yeah. Shift One Photo says that I'm not an authorized dealer. I'm an authorized hoarder, and that's a good call. I do have some pretty sweet. I have some of the first ever MVP discs ever released. Like when they first came out, I remember making an order. Some of their first molds were Ions putters, and it was a few years ago. Somebody said something about old Ions, and I was like, I think I still have a few of those because, truth be told, like a lot of companies, when MVP first hit the market, they weren't incredibly popular. A lot of people didn't know what they were. Some people thought they were gimmicky because they had this weird rim to them. It was very, very early on, and there wasn't, this instant overnight, selling out hundreds of thousands of them. And so, like I do with a lot of things, I had gotten some very early ones when they weren't doing particularly well. I took a few and I just set aside, and I thought, someday, these might be worth something. Sure enough, some of those very, very, very early ions are apparently worth a good chunk of change.
Paul Roberts says he sold an MVP ion for $800 a piece.
Okay, I might have a few of those. So I'll just hold on to them, and we'll see what happens.
I think I've got an Envy in there somewhere.
Yeah. So I remember playing catch with them when they first came out. We were up at Standing Rocks, and I remember at an early season event at that particular year. This is back when I still somewhat played, so this was quite a few years ago, and I was playing catch with one, and I remember me and whoever was playing catch with talking about the disc, and being like, oh, this is kind of weird. It's got this overmold thing. It was new to the industry for the most part. A lot of people nobody was embracing overmolding as a regular production item, and that's exactly what they came out with. So a few of those ions will sit and collect value. I would say dust, but if dust means dollars, then I'll take either one of those. All right, Grant says, I hope MVP integrates Matty O's quote, blue and yellow kill a fella quote, into the stamp, because to me that was Mike Bryn Bang of disc golf. I'm not sure where you're going with Matty. Do you mean
the blue and yellow, the disc?
I know, but I'm thinking
kill a fellow, which killed McBeth's chances.
Okay, we'll go with that. Do you find that it's maybe I don't even want to go backtrack to this, but I know we were just talking about post. How difficult for Sexton, Ulibarri, Coling to try and recreate that moment. And this is no rip on them. This could be said of anyone in a big moment, but to truly try to recreate that with seeming at all authentic or original, that's got to be tough. I mean, I don't envy that part of the job. Envy.
Nice. I don't want to say disappointed. I was surprised at how they handled it. They're talking and they're dropping little hints, like where I feel like Ulibarri says something and he's got it with a smirk, like oh man, it's gonna take like a crazy shot or something, like weird, like things like that. And then the shot happens and Germ like yells, oh, I think it was Germ, and all I kept thinking is like, yeah, that might, and maybe it's just right now. It could look fine in a year, 2 years, 3 years when people are going back and watching this.
Sure. Or people that stayed off live.
Or correct, but even if you stayed off live, me personally, and I'm sure they had a debate as to how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. I would have rather seen them like not pretend to react that way, but then just say something like, "Man, what an amazing feeling to be down there when that hit." Like play up that aspect of it as opposed to the fake excitement. But I don't know what they're going for. Are they going for the fake live, or I mean, clearly they are, or are they going for like a reproduction of the? Yeah, I don't know. But I think going along that aspect and saying something like, man, when I was down there for that shot, it, don't spoil it or ruin it. Wait for it to hit, and then and then say, man, when I was down there, man, that shot, everybody went nuts. I had double G on my shoulders, and we were running down the fairway together doing cartwheels with him on my shoulders. It was amazing. Me personally, some people probably loved it, and it's subjective. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up a good point.
point.
In 5 years, when someone's watching that video for the first time, they won't necessarily know that Germ and those guys were there, and I think that brings up a really valid point. It doesn't make it any easier for those guys to quote-unquote fake their way through it, but it is a good point that shot and that video will forever be cemented in history in that way. So that makes sense. Sorry, Seth was saying, I like John Boy's commentary on the shot. He had me rolling. I also thought it was pretty funny. I didn't know much about the whole John Boy Productions until he did, I thought he did Paul's 18 under, or one of his 18 unders. I thought he did a recap or a breakdown of that. He did something else with disc golf not too long ago. Maybe it was an ace, but I feel like it was Paul's 18 under. And that was the first time being introduced. I've never really subscribed or went back to it, but then to see him go ahead and tackle this, pulled a lot of stuff from the live feed, I think almost all of it, and then broke it down. I thought it was, I did think it was pretty cool. And he's got, I think it's 1.2 million subscribers. So to see how he did it and break it all down, I thought was good.
Do you want to, can we quickly talk about Paige Pierce and the Mando?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I know
you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
How far away from the Mando were you?
I was at basket pin high.
So funny angle to the Mando because
no, not really. I was dead center. I was at I think I said it on the check-in. I was at 12 o'clock. So if Paige Pierce is looking ahead, I'm that tiny little no. I'm that little spot off in the distance. I'm at 12 o'clock from Paige, straight, essentially in front of her. So as I'm looking at Paige and the Mando directly in front of me at 12 o'clock, the basket is a good 60, maybe 70 feet to my left. Because if she's throwing at me, she's obviously got to turn it over and ideally get it to her right. So it's off to my left. When it came my direction, which, like I said, felt like it was tracking right at me, essentially, I saw the disc move a little, and then I also saw that the Mando banner was somewhat wavering. My instant gut reaction was, I think she missed it.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my gut reaction. You know, I'm not staring at it like a behind the catcher in a baseball game, but that intently. But I'm looking at it. I'm like, I feel like she missed it. And then something was said on the tee. I think she kind of turned and maybe said, did I miss that or not? I don't know if she immediately asked that. And then obviously, naturally, as soon as they started walking up the fairway, the conversation I felt like ensued. And then the card had their conversation. And then it was, I know even one of our cameramen was asked as to like if they knew for sure. And he was getting, from our cameraman at the Disc Golf Network, was getting feed or a conversation that was taking place in the control room and also in the control room as to whether or not, because the control room, meaning you and Gary and Mo primarily were watching it, as to whether or not. But at that point, we can have no official input on it, and we shouldn't.
And I said that when we were replaying it because someone had asked, and the first thing I said is, we can't make a decision. There's no video evidence allowed. But she missed it, like, because we had gone frame by frame, and then you could see it go over. I, as well, from the angle I had, thought I saw it go over, but we also watched it twice. We watched it in regular speed, then we watched the super slow-mo, and we were able to kind of frame by frame it. I mean, and again, we have a camera. We have the benefit of, possibly just slightly zoomed in, better than eyesight. I mean, those are things that you can't replicate. You can't replicate Paige's view of it. Whether there was I don't know where the sun was, but there's shadows, there's sun, there's clouds, there's all sorts of things that can deceive you. And she turned around right away and just shrugged like like she couldn't tell. Like I couldn't tell if I missed it. And nobody else could either because nobody else really watched.
Well,
or was in a position to see it.
Definitively.
Correct.
I feel like that's a main factor, and I know a lot of you are yelling on the board right now saying this is why we need officials or this is why we needed a spotter on that hole, and I'll address a few of those things. One, what if the official / spotter got it wrong?
Yeah,
it's possible. It's absolutely possible. They just flat out called it wrong. What if I was the quote unquote official or spotter? I was in charge of watching that. I'm intently watching it, and I still call it wrong. Are you going to lose your mind at me? Are you now coming to my house with a pitchfork? You are. Because you later saw it in a replay, or you saw it in post-production or in a replay, and you're like, the spotter had it wrong all along. Now I'm blasted.
Yeah, someone said refs and umpires get things wrong all the time. Balls and strikes.
They do. And I'm not dismissing like, oh, hey, nothing should ever be done either. I'm just saying a spotter and or a dedicated official to that group absolutely could still have gotten it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It was very close. It's obviously split second, and it could have happened. And just, I almost hate to think of the backlash that if there was one, how vilified that person then becomes.
I think it proves a few things. One, if you're going to have a Mando like that, a triple Mando, or any Mando, it's got to have some depth to it. Like, you can't just have a rope or a pole. It's virtually impossible to tell at certain angles. I played Wilderness a couple weeks ago, and there's a Mando up at the green, and my shot was way short. I threw a giant Sky Anheuser, and I landed to the right of the Mando. There was zero chance anyone saw. I think I made it. I don't know. I was close.
Cheater.
Yeah. I couldn't see it.
I think you cheated.
The Mando is up a hill, literally up a hill like 40 feet, and and down another 100 feet. And from the angle I had, I was like, I think I made it. Like, and there's no way to tell. And I'm not saying that that's a bad Mando, but in an instance like this, for this type of major, man, you need to have, it needs, in theory, it should be definitive. And a ribbon or whatever, a rope or whatever that was hung between those two poles, too easy to tell. Like, get the truss system out there that the DGPT has and put that in the middle.
Well, I said after the fact, because that's when we're all know-it-alls, I said that was a missed branding opportunity for Grip 6, because what it looked like, it was
a belt.
It looked like it almost did look like a little bit like a belt. It looked like a 2 or 3 inch type of it looked like a belt. I don't know what the word is.
Almost like police tape type.
But it was a little bit thicker, and obviously there was some sag to it, which I don't think helped the situation in this case. But I was thinking almost an exaggerated Grip 6 or maybe 4 or 5 Grip 6 belts kind of banded together to make maybe a 6-inch high belt, and give that kind of a belt impression, and then have that be it. Put some branding on it. I just feel like, again, we're all really smart in hindsight, right?
Of course.
So
I never loved the triple Mando in general. I think it's a slightly gimmicky. It's forcing players into a particular spot.
It is on that hole, because that's the only way to make that hole challenging.
Correct.
And I get that you could still hate that, but obviously that hole, otherwise there is virtually zero challenge to it.
I would be more okay with just like a single Mando. Just a pole that you can't go to the right of. You have to go left. And I understand everyone's going to throw a big Sky Annie at it, or just a big flick forehand. There's going to be zero.
Yeah, adding one Mando to that hole
won't make it.
Yeah, you need 2 or 3 if you're looking for any difficulty on that hole.
I understand that.
And then we could all make the argument that you don't like the hole in general, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get all that too. But, yeah. So that's what we can say. At the end of the day, just like I think I said on the broadcast, though, it's the group's decision. Mm-hmm. It's only up to the group at that point. If they're not calling for another official or no one else is stepping in that capacity, what was decided upon by that group is what the official ruling is. So let's just play pretend, and maybe this was done, I don't know. Everyone watches it on Central Coast the next day, and 100 out of 100 people say, yep, that missed the Mando. I'm just making this up, but 100 out of 100 people say it, including the TD and the PDGA, and they're like, yeah, she missed the Mando. Too bad. It was in that case, it was determined by the group as her making the Mando. Therefore, that's I'll say the benefit she got in that situation. That's not the same as had she played from the wrong tee and the whole group was like, oh, we didn't know.
That's one of the actual instances where you can say the benefit of the doubt goes to the player. Because if nobody can make a definitive decision...
No, it's still wrong.
You don't think so?
No, because if I have to Google it, I will. The benefit of the doubt rule comes in a tiebreaker situation.
That's a tiebreaker is the only, not an undefinitive situation where nobody can tell?
I'd like somebody to say if I am incorrect, I would love to know. But benefit of the doubt goes to the player in a tie-breaking situation. So if two people say this and if two people say it's out of bounds, two people say it's in bounds, and in the event of a tie, then the benefit goes to the player. But if four people are like, well, we think it's out of bounds, but we're not sure, then you don't just say, well, we don't know, so benefit goes to the player. That's not how that is supposed to be.
I understand, but if
administered.
But if nobody can see it and nobody can tell, then
people will lob out, well, I'm not sure, so benefit of the doubt. That's not really how benefit of the doubt is supposed to work in terms of disc golf terms.
Correct. But you can't take, then you wouldn't take the OB stroke.
Sure. I'm just saying, it says right. Oh, darn it. I just had it.
Nah.
I would love to. Okay, here, and this one says.
And Daryl's saying, yep, the benefits if it's not agreed upon.
I'll read it verbatim. This is out of frequently asked questions out of the PDGA rules. It says, my group, and this one says for OB, but my group thinks my disc is OB, but I think it's unclear. Doesn't the benefit of the doubt go to the player? I'm safe, right? This is a question that's posed, and it says, benefit of the doubt only comes into play as a tiebreaker when the group cannot make a decision. For example, if two players see the disc as safe and two sees it as OB, if a majority of your group thinks it's OB, then it's OB. So you don't walk up and say, and three people look at it and say, oh, I think that's out of bounds. And the fourth person's like, I can't really tell.
No.
You're not like, oh, well, benefit of the doubt goes
Correct.
to this player
No.
because we can't tell.
Correct. Exactly.
It's incorrectly referenced.
So if
every effing round.
So if two people walked up and said, no, Paige, you missed the Mando, and the other two were like, no, she didn't, then the benefit of the doubt goes to Paige?
That sounds like a tiebreaker to me.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess, yeah.
I'm just saying that rule is incorrectly referenced every effing round of disc golf.
I know.
And it drives me crazy.
I know
I'm
that's
done.
why I brought it up.
I'm kind of done fighting the fight on it because people are just going to keep doing it. But not every unclear call is just like, well,
no,
benefit of the doubt.
Correct.
But that's what most people think it is.
I understand that.
There's a parameter to arrive at, then saying, oh, okay, well, it's a tie, therefore, like tie goes to the runner. It's not like, yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it at.
So, let's take the instance and say Lisa Fakis walks up and she says, I didn't see it. I didn't see if it went over or under.
Okay.
What's the call? Like, if nobody sees it.
I don't know. You warn everyone for not watching your competitor's disc, which is also a rule.
Of course. Okay, so everyone's got a warning. Now what's the solution? To me, and I understand this isn't what we're talking about, but that's an instance where the term benefit of the doubt would go to the player. It might not be based on our tiebreaker or rule, because technically, I guess it kind of is a tiebreaker. It's 50-50. Did it go over? Did it go under? Nobody knows. Like, again, this is a unique instance, but I understand because you and I have both seen where people say benefit of the doubt, and you're like, no, that's not what it means.
I've seen some of the most ridiculous calls ever, and people just lump it all into benefit of the doubt.
Yep. Oh, did it go be back here or up there? I don't know. Benefit of the doubt goes to me. I'm going to take it up here. Like, that's
exactly.
That's where I get frustrated at it. Like, no.
Disc Blaster says there is no penalty for not watching people. I don't know if I would phrase it exactly in that exact wording. And before I say anything, I'll just have to look up exactly how it is referenced.
And we can't use video replay because it's unfairly applied to every situation. We do not have cameras on every hole in order to accommodate every situation.
So do you feel, though, and without going too far down this rabbit hole, because I know we could have a whole podcast on it, but do you feel like in absolute objective calls, thank you, wow, like this one is you're over or under, period. Like you're either over it or you're under it, and if a few frames of watching video could determine you went over or you went under, Do you feel like there is room then for that exception for video evidence to start now getting integrated? Because right now, as we just said, it can't be. But do you feel like this makes the case for, well, maybe it could be? And yes, there's not a camera on every single card, but should we take advantage? Because the right call could have been then made.
Of course. Well, to me, the situation is tough because live post-production, can I walk up to the Jomez guys and be like, show me your footage as a player? Like, no, open it up and show me.
Yeah, hit replay or go to this clip.
I want to see this clip. I want to see what you recorded. Should that be allowed? That, I mean, or as a cameraman, you can be like, no, get bent. Like, make the choice yourself. Or one of our live guys. Let's just say that the post-production guys didn't get it. One of our live guys did. Should they be allowed to just be like, hey, show me that footage? And no, I'm busy working. I'm literally covering live cards.
And then how long are you taking? I mean, obviously replay at NFL has a certain amount of time, blah, blah, blah. Do you get an unlimited amount of challenges? What happens when now you've backed up the tournament by 9 minutes? And because you're demanding to see someone's footage, and what happens when they got a terrible angle or view of it, or they didn't hit record? Like there of course then brings in a million more questions
because people are like, oh, roll the Zucker replay, call the booth, because that's what the cameramen were saying was contact us, let them look at it, and it's like, no, I've got other things I need to do. Like,
sure,
great, your card is sitting here, but guess what? Lisa Fakis is making a run on the second card. I'm going to go follow her. I don't have time to sit and be your replay person.
Well, yeah, and I was just going to say, like, let's just say there's a great battle brewing on the chase card. That's where this happens. But meanwhile, we're trying to catch back up with the lead card. And then, as you just said, like, where do the resources, how in the world do they get allocated of like, hey, guys, I know you're showing lead card right now, and that's where the action is because they're back 3 holes. But, let's get a ruling here on the course. Yeah, I don't think any of that's practical.
It's not. It's not practical, but...
So...
I'm not opposed to finding a way to integrate video evidence. I just don't know the best way to do it, and I don't know how good it would be. I mean, again, we right now, in theory, for most of our live broadcasts, we have a replay guy, and he is not. Well, he is very, very busy. Don't get me wrong, Gary.
Ouch.
He could make a call. He could play back the clip and be like, yeah, she missed it. Okay, cool. And is that in, black and white situations for that triple Mando? It works, but like you said, if it's a Mando where you need to go around it and he's so high up that it doesn't go around, is he in charge of making a judgment call now, or can he just say like, sorry, judgment call, not my problem? And then how much time do you want to add? I mean, we saw that not having the paint possibly added time to the round when people were sitting there trying to make a decision. Now we're being held up by us in the booth to make a decision. We're just not that big yet where we can afford to do that. So while I'm not opposed to it, I don't think we can do it yet.
All right. I am.
Eric says, never bring the video editing guy into it.
Yeah.
And Galactic Conqueror says it played out exactly the way it should have. Let's move on. I agree. Like, the right call was made.
I don't know. I mean, we could beat this to death.
No, we're done beating this to death.
All right. I will go back and look for the other PDGA rules that you guys were just talking about. I'll see if I can find them in a moment so we can make sure we're all up to speed on what is or isn't required when other people are throwing, or an obligation you do or don't have to be watching other people throw. All right. Again, this kind of brings up the overall, though, it brings up the overarching argument about should there be an official? How many officials should they be? Should they be in certain sections of a course? Because I do understand that argument when someone says break the course into 6 3-hole sections.
I get that the players don't want to be officiate and be their own refs, and that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And hopefully you get past that with better marked OB and such, but you still have to be able to warn a player on your card. You still have to be able to call them on a foot fault, because as we know, in theory, you need a ref for each player. Like, that's right.
Yeah.
We've all seen the cameramen bust their ass back and forth on a fairway. Should a ref be doing that as well? Should he be up at the tee making sure there's not a foot fault and also be at the Mando spot to make sure that she hits the Mando? Or do we need 2 refs? Do we need 4 refs? Do we need 8 refs? Do we need one for each player and then one for each player down the fairway? Like, there's this just never-ending conversation here. Like, and that's why it's just like, oh, we need officials. Bullshit. What we need are players to suck it up and start calling other players on stuff and not whine about it like, we should have an official here. Sorry. I'm okay with an official if all the money comes out of your purse. Right? Because that's where it's coming from.
What I worry about is go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one last thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm not opposed to having an official on the course and a marshal on the course to clarify rules. Or a TD or whomever. Like, that's why we have officiating. Like, or an official or a marshal that they could go to someone like Terry, for instance, and say, hey, we have a question about this call. Is this the right move? Do we, hey, so-and-so misplayed it. How do we do this? Or is this OB? Can you look at this? And the official makes the final call like, yes, that's OB. There was a great example in the MPO field where the 2 fences came together or didn't come together, and he was right in the middle of that. Where do you draw that line? Is it straight across from one of the edges? Is it corner to corner? That's a great spot where an official can come in and make that call. But to think that that officials are going to be at every position and every spot where you can go OB, all you're doing is creating problems.
Well, I said, someone said, well, we could have camera evidence for things that are objective. You did or didn't go under, a Mando line or whatever the case might be. I said, all right, it technically, if we slowed down camera footage, you could define every single time a jump putt is or isn't legal. I mean, if you go to enough frames, you can certainly, because I know there's obviously arguments about jump putting and the legality of it, you could easily figure out every single person. You get enough frames per second on the right camera, and it becomes crystal clear who's has a legal jump putt and who doesn't. That's pretty objective, isn't it? So that's one place where I'm like, I don't think we can just say, well, okay, for only objective calls, because that becomes one too. And then are we going to sit around and challenge jump putts literally every time someone putts and then expect to roll a tape? So
now, what Paul Roberts says is what you're saying amounts to this is why we won't ever be in the Olympics. Maybe, but I'm also talking about a standard tournament. If you're talking about the Olympics, maybe you just have, one card out there, and you do have 4 or 5 or 6 officials. But you don't just think of the number of people you need on every card. Do you get 4 officials for each card? Or for each hole, we'll say, which it makes no difference because there's probably going to be, 4 officials for each hole. And then you place them in spots. And again, we've all seen discs go in the craziest spots, hitting off the craziest trees. How about you just don't make triple Mandos?
All right. So just real quick as a clarification, under the disc golf rules, section 812 under courtesy, section 8. So this is 812 courtesy, section B. It says a player must perform actions expected by the rules, including helping to find a lost disc and moving equipment when asked and keeping score properly. Then it says under point 2, watch the other members of the group throw in order to ensure rules compliance and to help find discs. So do you have to watch someone throw?
Wait, say that last part again.
A player must watch the other members of the group throw in order to ensure rules compliance and to help find discs.
Then yes.
I think that's pretty black and
so
white.
Ultimately, it's a courtesy violation if you don't. The first time, you can be called, right? Because that says courtesy.
It says a player receives a warning for the first violation of any courtesy rule.
Yep.
Each subsequent violation of any courtesy rule by that player in the same round incurs a 1 throw penalty.
Yeah.
A courtesy violation may be called or confirmed by any affected player or by an official. Repeated courtesy violations may result in disqualifications by the director. I don't know if that could be any more black and white, but
it's very black and white. Spock Hazer says, how about Paul moving that log and not putting it back? Seemed to me like it was supposed to be part of the course. That's really gray. What is supposed to be part of the course? If there's a brush pile just off the fairway near the green,
because the volunteers cut up the fairway, they said, oh, we don't think anyone's ever going to throw here, so we're going to put all of the brush here.
That's not what I was thinking, but go ahead.
Well, they're going to put all of the brush here. This should never come into play. Let's stack all of the brush here because that's just what has to happen. I've seen this happen before. So you're saying you land in that brush, and then you, because it's dead and detached and it's in your lie, you move it. You're suggesting that they definitely have to put it all back because that was or wasn't part of the course?
No,
Is that kind of what you're saying?
No, I mean, kind of. I'm thinking more of a situation. I'll change the situation. A bunch of brush gets cut down, and someone's like, "Oh, cool. Let's line the green with this." They put it around the green, but it's dead. It's not moving.
They're logs.
I mean, okay. Can you move them? Is it part of the course? What's the definition of part of the course at that point? Like, if it's in your footing and it's dead and it's not attached, there's clearly a rule that says you can move it. You know, I think there could be some fine lines between what is part of the course and what isn't, depending on, you know, is it a log or is it a railroad tie? It's a piece of wood, right? Ultimately,
yeah. I mean,
there is some gray area there. So, do I think Paul was doing something and not putting it back? Is that unsportsmanlike? No. Maybe he didn't realize that is, you know, I can't talk to the course designer every time, you know, I do something.
Hey, did you mean for me to move this branch over here on hole 9?
Maybe the pile of brush they have just off the green, short of it, maybe they want that to be part of the design or the thing. Maybe they don't. And it's not my world to call, but I don't believe Paul meant anything by it, and I can't imagine Paul would have done anything like that on purpose if that was meant to be part of the thing.
Okay.
Could someone have moved one of the logs they clearly put down to avoid discs sliding? Maybe if it got in their footing and they moved it, do they have to move it, you know, exactly back to the exact same spot? Because that's impossible. You know, what if it was off by 6 inches and the next guy was able to slide through because it was moved 6 inches and they went OB? I don't know.
I mean, I ain't no smart rules guy. And here's what I will say. Just as I'm doing right now, literally, as I'm thinking about various scenarios, the PDGA officials test is supposed to be open book, open note, open resource, whatever, for these exact reasons. There's going to be weird situations that can come up during a tournament where they expect you to go out and find that section in either the rules book or the rules Q&A so that you can then address, hopefully, there's something that addresses that scenario or that situation. I will never claim to know all of the rules off the top of my head, clearly. I feel very few people would ever want to claim that out loud. I'm sure some people really do, but do know them. But if ever in a situation, one of my favorite things to say, and this happens often, is when people will say something to me and it's usually rules that are made up. And I feel like one of the kindest, simplest ways to answer that or to rebut that is just say, can you show me where that is in the rules? That, I think, is just a good overarching line that could be applied a lot of times. I always go back to the one where someone said, hey, man, you can't grab more discs halfway through the round. You can't grab more discs out of your car and then, bring those along and use those during the round. And I just remember thinking, could you please show me that in the rules? Because clearly there's a lot of rules that get made up or they become gray or they slightly change from one rules update to 10 years later, they're slightly different and so on and so forth. that's always usually a good thing to ask is, could you show me where that is in the rules? I feel like that's a good starting point. And then usually it's a learning lesson for both of you, because you find something and you find, oh, this rule's been, inaccurately applied or misinterpreted, or whatever the case might be. Or maybe it's a rule and you never really did know. But yeah, that's what I would suggest on that.
What else? Do we have any other positives or negatives to take away from this Worlds? I think overall we saw, I think I heard 39,000 people concurrently watched the MPO finale.
Okay.
Between Facebook, YouTube, DGN, not the PDGA YouTube. We couldn't get
Pigeons.
that. We couldn't get that going. And the funny part was, I'm sure that number is probably, I would probably think at least another 10 to 20% based on the number of people watching at each device. I can imagine, like Kat had said, in warehouses and stores and things like that, more people. But
yeah, so that's the bare minimum number of
those are the uncounted masses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very good positive for the DGN and live disc golf. I don't know if they were really. I think we covered all the controversies with the PDGA, so I'd rather not go through those again.
No. Ray asks, when does the PDGA create an official course designer certification class, standardize Mandos, make tiers for courses based on specific features, etc.? Course can be PDGA certified. The only quick thing, and this might be a little flowery, is I feel like I heard years ago, so this is hearsay from many years ago, and I will disclose that much. There is a certain liability that goes along with certifying anything. As soon as you are saying that there's either a class or an official certification to something, that inherently will bring upon some additional liabilities. And so, I'm not saying this can't happen. We'd need some lawyers to chime in on this, but I know it has always been at least lightly treaded upon, even within the disc golf designers group, which Chuck Kennedy and others are part of, is to carefully craft the words that you use when it comes to being a designer of sorts, because there's either implied and or explicit liabilities that go along with that. If we'll take Johnny V as an example. If somebody calls up Johnny V and says, hey, I heard you play this disc golf thing. Can you come out to our 20 acres at our Boy Scout camp because your kid's in Boy Scouts? Can you come out and design us a Boy Scout camp? And Johnny V, or design us a course on our camp. And Johnny V goes out there and does or doesn't have, we'll say, certain qualifications and or certifications. And then next thing you know, some kid is hit in the head, and Johnny V gets a phone call because he volunteered his few hours to go out there and design a Cub Scout friendly disc golf course, and some Yahoo, threw it 3 fairways across because his design was either great or terrible, but some kid performed some kid was teeing off the back of the wrong tee, throwing at the wrong pin, but hit somebody. Next thing you know, Johnny V's included in that lawsuit. So that might sound crazy, or that might sound exactly like what's happened in the past. So that's very high level lawyer type scenarios, but there's been some crazy stuff that has happened that I know of personally, and there's probably thousands of other examples I've never heard of. But just to be fair, that's why there, I think, are some hesitations when it comes to certain design components and aspects. As a guy I've designed somewhere between like 35 and 40 courses in some capacity or had involvement with, and I carry a certain insurance. Not everybody does, and I'm not saying I'm fully protected by everything that could ever happen, but sure, I think about what happens to a course, or what happens even worse. I design a course, 10 years later, a new park and rec director is in there. He's like, I don't like hole 7 because he knows everything. And he goes and changes hole 7, and that completely jeopardizes the integrity or the safety of that hole, or it jeopardizes 6, 7, and 8 safety. But I'm still called in as the designer that was listed on some paperwork 12 years ago. Again, this might all sound crazy, but when lawyers get involved, nothing's off the table.
And it's a really bad move that you list me as your lawyer. I'm just saying.
Johnny V's Law Services and Pizzeria.
I mean, I'm not saying I won't defend you in court.
Yeah.
I'm saying I really won't do a good job.
So those again, that's just one scenario. I'm not trying to discourage people from designing courses and being involved, but just know there's certain things that come with it. Of course, I think being a well-informed designer, whether you talk to someone like a Chuck Kennedy, you use the resources that are on the PDGA page, you attend a John Houck designer's course, and there's certain things you should be picking up and hopefully learning. But I'll tell you, one of the things I hate most in disc golf is when I see a terrible course that's in a park district because one guy played once in college. I'll go really stereotypical. He played once in college, then he thought it would be a great idea to add it to his community. He packs 12 holes into a space where there should be 3 or 6, puts it in there, and then his good buddy comes over and visits or has something going on. He's like, oh, yeah, disc golf's great. And then this guy comes and sees that course, saw what that guy did, and he goes and makes as bad or a worse course in his own community. That happens more often than you guys think, and they really, really frustrate me and make me cringe because then you read in the newspaper, oh, dog walker got hit by an errant disc. So somebody's getting sued, so on and so forth. They'll sue the manufacturers. Pulled. The course gets pulled, and then everybody hates disc golf. So how's that sound? Not fun?
Sounds like fun.
I don't think I've been named in any lawsuits yet.
You wouldn't know. You don't answer your mail. I mean,
certified letter from.
You don't answer. Yeah. Any knocks on the door, you just always. Your kids are just like, Daddy's not home.
Nope. He doesn't live here no more. So.
Are you my daddy? That's what you need to teach your kids to say.
All right. I don't know if there's anything else here I'll read out on the board. My local idiots throw destroyers on 200-foot holes. I mean, everybody's got to get to the hole. However you do it, one way or another. It's funny when you design certain things and you see people play it entirely different, and it's like, well, I mean, least amount of strokes is what wins, and that's ultimately all that matters.
Nelson asks, when are we going to get the Terry cut of the holy shot?
Oh, that's a great question. I showed it to Johnny just before we got started. I had no zoom on the little camera I had. I was just standing there hanging out, trying to assist the media. My official role for the MPO side, because we knew how crazy things might get and kind of the format for how we were going to let the interviews happen. Jamie Thomas was to conduct the main interview along with Matt Rothstein from the PDGA. My official role was actually to somewhat hold back the rest of the media teams once the final putt dropped in, because we were really just going to try and let it breathe and not have this mad rush up there. Well, as you saw when it went in on 18, everyone went berserk. And
so
we had
you're
to kind
bad
of
at your job.
Yeah, I'm bad at my job. Little old me. And so I tried to push, or help corral people. Everybody got resettled. And then obviously the madness moved over to hole 16. And even there, yeah, once the final putt dropped in, everyone just swarmed. I don't know how you fully prevent all of that.
Not allowing spectators so close?
I'm going to bring my
in general.
My police shield next time so I can
You should.
keep
that will endear you to the fans.
That should do it. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we have anything else major. Johnny, do you want to do a giveaway tonight?
Oh my gosh.
We might have 2 of them.
We should have 2 giveaways.
We didn't last week. So for those that are around that haven't been here before, thank you for joining us. After show is always a little bit silly and off the rails. It could go anywhere. Every single week, we pull up our Patreon spreadsheet, and then we randomly generate a number. And that corresponds to someone on our Patreon spreadsheet. So for as little as a $1 per month contribution at the bare minimum, that immediately makes you eligible to win something. And then more often than not, we're giving away discs. Sometimes it might be a shirt or something else, or a disc member box or something of that nature. But it's usually valued at least $15 to $20 by the time it's shipped to you. And every single week we have a random number generated, and then we give away a prize for it. Last week, because I was on the road, we didn't generate one. So this week we're going to have 2 numbers, and 2 lucky Patreon subscribers will win. And then they'll reach out to me. I'll reach out to them. We'll double check we got the right address, and then I'll send them something. That's usually how that goes. It will not be one of the freshly run P2s from Discmania that were generated in Sweden or produced, nor will it be one of the new Discmania mutants.
It's going to be one of your original envies.
My ions.
Or your ions,
Yeah,
sorry.
no. It will not be that either, but we'll find something else fun to give you. How's that sound?
It does sound pretty good.
I am game. So.
Hold on. Fill time for just a split second.
Oh, I got to fill time because Johnny's going to track down something. Yes, I know. Someone says $1. Sheesh, that's a good bit of money. The U.S. dollar. I don't know how that relates to Bitcoin right now. What is that at? 34,000. So I hear you. It is a good bit of money. But someone had asked earlier if they're going to see me in Minnesota this weekend. You will not. However, you will likely see a Disc Golf Guy camera crew. This weekend is Clash at the Canyons, and that is a Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series event, which means they'll play Friday and Saturday, and then on Sunday, myself and Dana Vici will give you the live action for the final round on Sunday. That's taking place down at the Delwood Disc Golf Course. That's happening on Sunday. The Minnesota Majestic, as James Conrad mentioned earlier, will be taking place in Minnesota at Blue Ribbon Pines, and I'm thinking there's going to be some Disc Golf Guy cameras over there. So it won't be next day because I won't be there to edit it, but we'll try and get that out very, very quickly. Johnny, digging into the vault.
My personal stash. This is a 2019 Envy. It feels base plastic. I don't know what their base plastic is called. 172. Is this worth anything?
I can't comment on that. I don't believe it's worth any exorbitant amount of money, any more than the maybe $16 or $18 stock pricing. That's
all right.
That's what my guess is.
Well, I don't know either, so
it could be worth $500.
That's going to be one of the giveaways tonight then.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
If it's worth $500, someone's going to get a $500 disc because I got no idea. So yeah, so this will be one of our giveaways. We're going to do 2 giveaways tonight. The first one will be this Envy. It's one of the advantages of it being us. I'll just call him VP Steve and have him send me another one.
There you go.
So this Envy, in honor of James Conrad and the Holy Shot, again, it's like a tacky, sticky, base plastic. Is that kind of?
Oh yeah, I like it.
Someone can let me know what it is, and we'll do that. So
it's got Euro technology. I like that.
Does it taste like a Euro?
Yep.
Anyway, Terry Miller, how in the world are we going to give this away?
I mean, if we're going to give that
normal?
away, I think it should be the second number. No, I don't like that. I think it should be the first number in honor of James' first World Championship.
I'm glad you didn't say his 247th number.
No. So in honor of his first World Championship, we are going to pull the first number that's drawn. We'll get this Envy that Johnny V from the 2019 Standing Rocks Open. That's an event here in which is so
this is an event I won in my division.
Damn.
Masters.
Damn, guys. Yes. It's got Johnny V Am Masters Love on it. Doesn't get any better than that.
Okay.
Am Master Love, folks. Winner, champion. Am Master Love by
Champion
Johnny V.
and Master Love. So you're saying
The first number you generate,
right.
and the next giveaway will have to be the second number you generate for Cat's two
I'm okay with that.
two-time victories. But this first number you generate will receive this MVP Envy coming right out of Johnny V's stash. Never thrown.
I don't know.
Definitely fondled.
I don't know if I'd say it's never been thrown.
Okay.
If
thrown, very lightly.
Very lightly. I think I did throw it. I think I played with it for a round just to mess with it, and then it came out of my bag. So there may be some light scuffing.
Well, it's definitely ace then before. If Johnny V's thrown it, and he's the champ.
All right. So the very first number we generate, I'm going to go on my list. I sorted them by first name, alphabetical. I didn't get anything creative. And the first number we generate is 62. So I'm going to
Johnny goes to the spreadsheet, folks. Everybody holds their breath in anticipation.
Eli Bowman. Eli Bowman, congratulations. You are now the proud owner of this Envy.
Wow, and one person above would have been a guy that already has this disc, probably.
Yeah, he would have. Ed Schroer would have had this disc because he played in that not in that division. I think he played in Am Grandmasters.
What
maybe.
a small world.
But yeah, so Eli Bowman, congratulations. Now you're saying that the next one we pull should be just in the next generator, or do I generate two more for Cat?
Oh no, it's two more. Yeah, you got it. So two more numbers you're going to generate.
All right. So
you got to say who it's not first.
So the person who's not getting it is number 194.
Federico, right?
Federico Tyler Helmke. You're not getting that. So
Tyler's won not too long ago anyway,
yep.
Tyler.
149. So we just switch those numbers. 149.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Oh, Philip J. Oliveras.
Yeah, Philip.
Philip J. Oliveras.
Love it.
Out of Maryland. So
Heck
congratulations, Philip J. Oliveras. I'm sorry you don't get my Envy. You can envy something else. You'll get something out of Terry's particular stash. Maybe he'll find an MVP disc. Maybe he won't.
Or maybe I'll find a Prodigy disc. I'll have to see what's in the stash.
Disc, yeah.
I'll have to see. I make no promises.
Dig around. But it got caught on something.
Now it's damaged more, folks.
Start throwing it around. Anyway, congratulations to the Envy owner and the soon-to-be, hopefully, Prodigy disc.
Yeah, or another MVP. Whatever I find.
Whatever.
I'll find something. Sorry, Federico. You are not our winner again tonight. Federico, listening from Germany, I think. Good to see you out on the board. I think it's Germany. Either way, thank you for being out there and on the board tonight. I feel like I had like 6 other topics, none of which I remember, so I guess they're not crucial.
Not Germany.
You sure?
Oh, Germany, yeah.
They have a weird country code, DE.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that's Germany.
No, I wouldn't.
I know. I can only be dumb for so long, and then I figure it out. Greg says, Terry and Johnny V, great show. Keep up the great work, and can't wait for the next time. Love my Disc Golf family. Thank you. We love you.
Thanks, Greg.
We appreciate it. Longest podcast in history? Not even close. Shift one photo.
8 to 12:50.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we to be fair, we kind of had 2 of them tonight.
Yeah.
In that we had the PDGA rep. Also, if I haven't beat this to death, I don't think I have in this show. PDGA ballots, if you're a current member, should show up probably sometime on July 1st in your email inbox. I believe you have until the end of July to cast your votes. There are 8 candidates that are running for the board of directors. 3 will be elected. So there are 8 candidates that are running for a position on the board. You will select ultimately 3 of them. So please make sure you vote. I believe our voter turnout is usually abysmal at like 11%, 10%. Maybe it was 14 is sticking out for me for last year. It's still only 14% of our membership, I believe, has voted last year. So make sure you get out there, make yourself heard, find which candidate you align yourself with or that you'd like to see representing you or your thoughts. I think tomorrow, as in sometime Wednesday, you should see all 8 of the board candidates did interviews with me. They're all loaded to YouTube, and there will be separate links to all 8 of them. They range from 16 minutes to 34 minutes for the 8 participants. We have 7 men, 1 woman that's run. They have platform statements and other things that are already out there that exist, but then they did an additional interview with me where I asked them pretty much all the same questions, so they're consistent from person to person, and those will be available. So if you want to get to know them, and then the cool thing is those will be on YouTube on my page, but you can, click on it at 1.5 or 1.75 speed. You could burn through those all very quickly, and you could listen to and see the 8 potential candidates all interact. So, somebody said they're already on the PDGA website now, so maybe they did release them.
That's great. Somebody next week remind me. I've had this giveaway forever. I went back and forth with a gentleman who does a practice putt disc golf and practice putt disc golf pro, an app for Android and iOS. I've got a bunch of codes to give away.
Dang.
And I said that I would. I keep forgetting because they're in my email that I only use for Smashbox, so I never have it open. So please don't let me forget. Next week we'll give away 2 or 3 of those codes, so you guys can do some practice putting. So just a shout out to James Morton who runs thing. He gave me on like June 2nd. So
that a boy, killing it.
Yeah, so it's been like 3 or 4 weeks, and I've been meaning to give them away. Every time after the after show when I go to send Terry an email message, I see this and I'm like, God, I've already picked and drawn. So please.
All right, sounds like we got more free stuff to give away.
We have
who
stuff
doesn't
to
love
give
that?
away.
All right, guys, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, old, young, newcomer, or long-time listeners. We love and appreciate you guys. It was an incredible night. We're so honored to be able to have our champions in Catrina Allen, along with James Conrad. Great interviews with both of them to have them share some of those moments, reflect on a few of them, talk about what they see in the immediate future, and we just couldn't be happier to be any part of the media team to help bring that to the world through this last week. And again, hats off to Jade, along with Rob and the entire city of Ogden and everyone that had anything to do with it, including all the volunteers, of course, all the supporting sponsors, and also our governing body in the PDGA. Thank you guys for everything, for hosting yet another World Championships. So we're going to call it, guys. This has been Smashbox TV's podcast 357. We'll have another one for you. It'll be 358 next week. We invite you to join us. We always start on time at 9 o'clock Central, unless something else crazy is going on. But
like
we'll
the
be
PDGA
here.
does an interview before.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I hesitated. But 9 o'clock Central, right here on YouTube on Smashbox TV. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. Again, Smashbox TV's 357. We'll see you next week right here when it's live for the Smashbox. We'll see you then.